Chapter 4007. Seeing that Ao Zhong was also speaking in riddles with him, Xiao Hua was helpless. He cupped his hands and watched Ao Zhong return to the East Sea Dragon clan. Then, Xiao Hua's heart moved. Although his figure was flying forward, the corner of his eyes was paying attention to the other dragons. After all, he had offended the second prince of the North Sea Dragon Palace. Who knew if Ao Jing was among the dragons participating in the North Sea Dragon Palace's experimental learning? Fortunately, although Xiao Hua couldn't tell which was the North Sea Dragon Palace and which was the West Sea Dragon Palace, after a rough look, there wasn't anything that made him feel uncomfortable. Xiao Hua, come here quickly. When Xiao Hua was looking, Ao Sheng's voice came into his ears. The stacked Jade Legacy realm seems to be opening. All right. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly sped up. Before he could get close to the huge rock, an indescribable feeling came from the huge rock. It was like a magic treasure that was about to explode. Inside, there were thousands of strands of aura that could kill Xiao Hua at any time, uncontrollably spread out in the water. Hiss! Xiao Hua's figure couldn't help but slow down. The brilliance around his body flashed as he wanted to resist. However, the more he urged his true essence, the more intense the killing intent became. Xiao Hua even felt that the huge rock was shaking even more violently, as if it was preparing to strike down from the sky. However, when waves of dragon qi rushed over from the left, Xiao Hua immediately understood. He hurriedly dispersed his true essence and slightly activated his dragon vein. Woo! It was as if a whirlwind had blown out from Xiao Hua's meridians. The killing intent from before had immediately faded by a lot, and even the shaking of the huge rock seemed to have weakened by a lot. It seems that in this stacked Jade Legacy realm, this Xiao's Daoist magic, Confucian cultivation, and so on will have to be restrained. Xiao Hua's figure landed beside Ao Sheng and thought to himself, since this stacked Jade Legacy realm is a fragment of the dragon domain, then the dragon aura inside must be rich. It must also reject other cultivation paths. The Great Elder of the Dragon Palace is right. However, when Xiao Hua's figure just stabilized, the shaking of the huge rock suddenly stopped. The killing intent of the dragon aura was withdrawn into the huge rock, and everything returned to normal. Damn it, I still have to wait. Ao Sheng screamed in frustration. His dragon body lay on the ground in an unsightly manner. His head drooped lazily, as if all the dragon bones in his body had been removed. Xiao Hua said with a smile, not a single one of the dragon race's 9 elders came. This stacking Emerald Legacy realm naturally won't open. That's true. Ao Sheng agreed with Xiao Hua and muttered, the elders didn't come, so why did they drag us here first? Taking advantage of this time, I can throw a few dice at Brother Liu. Yeah, I think so too. Xiao Hua squinted his eyes and looked at Boulder, who was as quiet as a handsome man, and said with a smile, it would be best if I could win that water-repelling pearl from your palace. TSK. You think I can't win? Ao Shengli squinted at Xiao Hua and said with a smile, I can win by using any divine sense. I'm just good at dragon grade. I don't want to cheat. That's a good dragon, Xiao Hua said perfunctorily. He sat cross-legged beside Ao Sheng and began to meditate. Ao Sheng looked at Xiao Hua and sat on the ground for a moment. He looked very bored. His pair of dragon eyes looked around. Suddenly, 2 dice appeared on his dragon claws. Unfortunately, the palace in front of Boulder was full of seawater. How could the dice be thrown out in the seawater? After throwing a few times, Ao Sheng simply urged his dragon qi to expel the seawater around the dragon claws. Then, he concentrated on throwing the dice on the ground. After an unknown period of time, Xiao Hua, who was meditating, suddenly felt a gust of wind in front of him. The crystal-like seawater seemed to not exist. His figure was blown away. At this moment, roar. A loud and clear dragon roar came from afar. The figure of Dragon Island's 4th elder was like a mountain ridge as he streaked across the seawater. Then, he transformed into a human dragon that was dozens of feet in size and stood on Boulder. That boulder was like an erupting volcano. The dragon qi scraped 4th elder's scales until they creaked. The brilliance on his dragon body was also like a swaying flag. It was extremely long. Dragon Sun. Fourth elder said, "You are all the elites of my dragon tribe. Today, the opening of the Stacking Jade Legacy Realm is the opportunity for you to show your skills. Go, the hope of my dragon tribe is in your hands. I hope you can return with a full load and live up to the expectations of my Dragon Palace's elders." Roar! All the dragons stretched their necks and roared. The roar of the dragons shook the seawater as if it was boiling. Catcher! Along with the roar of the dragons, the boulder shook violently. Tens of thousands of purple crystal threads were produced from the seawater in the vicinity of Wanzhong. These crystal threads fell into the boulder at the same time. With a boom sound, the boulder disintegrated, revealing a fist-sized gold-colored crystal at its core. This gold-colored crystal looked like a water droplet, but there was a clear fracture mark on its tip. The surface of the water droplet was not a smooth arc. Instead, it was pieced together by many small flat surfaces that looked like dragon scales. Every flat surface was emitting an extremely brilliant gold-colored light. Every light ray was distorted, as if many tiny dragons were pouncing into the water. Moreover, under the surface of the light ray, along with the overflow of the light ray, one after another strange image was produced from time to time. It was as if there was a world inside this crystal. Oh! Xiao Hua was a little shocked. The True Dragon Tablet recorded all kinds of experiences in the Stacking Jade Legacy Realm. It also wrote the method to enter the Stacking Jade Legacy Realm. However, it didn't explain what the Stacking Jade Legacy Realm was. Xiao Hua previously thought that this boulder was the entrance to the Stacking Jade Legacy Realm. However, he didn't expect that the crystal in the middle of the boulder was the entrance. However, when his gaze fell on the crystal, his heart was moved again. He inwardly pondered, could it be? This crystal is the Stacking Jade Legacy Realm? However, he saw the crystal floating in the water, not moving in the slightest. Only the golden light and the pattern overflowed in the seawater. This golden light illuminated the figures of all the dragons, monsters, and humans. That pattern also fell into their eyes. However, the strange thing was that when Xiao Hua tried to recall, he didn't have any memory of the pattern he saw before. It was as if he didn't see it at all. "You can go in now." The fourth elder's voice drifted in the seawater. A group of dragons, monsters, as well as Xiao Hua and the other humans, threw out their true dragon tablets. Then, they urged their dragon chi to fall on it. Those leaves fell into the crystal like fallen leaves returning to their roots. Buzz! The golden light on the surface of the crystal was like a bubble in the seawater. It expanded at an extremely fast speed. That biting cold dragon chi was sharper than a flying sword and pierced into Xiao Hua's body. Sigh! Xiao Hua's body had long been tempered thousands of times. It was tougher than ordinary magic tools. However, at this time, the golden light entering his body actually caused him to feel severe pain. Xiao Hua groaned in a low voice and hurriedly urged the dragon transformation art. The dragon vein left his body and covered Xiao Hua's body. Sure enough, when the golden light fell into the dragon chi, it immediately began to melt. That sharp pain was greatly reduced. Seeing that the leaked dragon chi was so powerful even before entering the forgotten realm of stacked jade, Xiao Hua already understood why only dragons and descendants of dragons with pure bloodline and sufficient dragon chi could enter. Presumably, this forgotten realm was filled with such tyrannical dragon chi. If dragons with thin bloodline entered the forgotten realm of stacked jade, they would be instantly killed by this dragon chi. Roar! Waves of dragon roars that were louder than the previous dragon roars emitted by the group of dragons came from the crystal. Then, golden crystal threads flew out and fell on Xiao Hua, Ao Sheng, and the other humans and dragons who took out their true dragon tablets and spouted dragon chi. Xiao Hua felt an irresistible force coming from the crystal threads. All of a sudden, his body was shackled. Along with the crystal threads, his body rapidly shrank and was thrown into the crystal. In Xiao Hua's vision, the surface that was smaller than a fingernail became bigger and bigger. In the end, it was like the surface of a lake blocking in front of him. Moreover, the surface slightly rippled, just like the surface of a lake. Boom! The crystal threads fell into the surface. Xiao Hua's body crashed into it like a stone. Catcher! The surface cracked and a substantial dragon chi rushed out and fell into Xiao Hua's dragon vein Dharma body. Woo woo! The dragon vein Dharma body issued a hissing sound and rapidly expanded. Boom! With a loud sound, Xiao Hua's body and the dragon vein Dharma body were completely submerged into the crystal. At the same time that Xiao Hua entered the forgotten realm of stacked jade, Ao Sheng and the other dragons also crashed into the crystal. Endless rumbling sound exploded near the crystal. However, in the ears of the fourth elder, who was less than 1,000 feet away from the crystal, this kind of violent explosion sound was so soft. It was like a silkworm breaking out of its cocoon. The fourth elder's body was also illuminated by the golden light. The surface of his dragon body was slightly distorted. His eyes were slightly narrowed. His expression was rather complicated as he watched the crystal threads bring in the dragons one by one. It was normal for several thousand dragons to enter the forgotten realm of stacked jade. However, when several hundred demons and humans entered after them, there was an abnormality. Ah! Ah! A series of miserable screams came from the crystal. Those dragon blood descendants whose bloodline was not pure enough and whose dragon aura was not abundant enough had just touched the surface of the crystal. When the dragon aura fell into their dragon blood Dharma body, their Dharma body immediately burst. Moreover, this dragon aura was like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves as it rushed into the bloodline of these descendants. Regardless of whether they were of the 5th grade or the 7th grade, their bloodline was destroyed, and then their flesh burst. Clusters of blood mist turned into blood-colored flowers, which looked exceptionally beautiful in the golden light. After a full half cup of tea's time, the crystal regained its calm. Those who had entered had already entered, and those who had not, did not even leave behind their corpses. The entire crystal's golden light gradually dimmed and converged, as if nothing had ever happened. When the crystal began to flow, all the images began to rotate. Strands of needle-like golden light shot out from the crystal. When the golden light fell into the sea, it immediately turned into a huge amount of dragon aura and filled the surroundings. There were even many small whirlpools that were born in the sea, like Xiaohua's buds. They floated into the distance. -13. Chapter 4008. The fourth elder of the Dragon Palace stood in the seawater and quietly watched this strange phenomenon. He pondered inwardly, the stacked jade legacy realm is admittedly a fragment of the dragon domain, there is another universe within it. However, the Dragon Island is not the dragon domain after all. This stacked jade legacy realm will eventually disappear one day. If we don't hurry up and find that thing, how can we establish a connection with the dragon domain? Wouldn't the sacrifice of the 3 dragon sages be in vain? After watching for a moment, the fourth elder of the Dragon Island shouted loudly, "Protect the stacked jade legacy realm well. If there is any abnormality, immediately report to the Dragon Palace." Yes. The dragon soldiers guarding at a distant place complied and flew over. However, they didn't firmly protect the golden crystal. Instead, they protected the crystal and the scattered gravel near the crystal. The gravel that exploded earlier now seemed to have a life of its own. They turned into water droplets little by little, then moved towards the crystal floating in the water. Although these dragon soldiers and dragon generals were on alert, each and every one of them had a joyful expression on their face. After all, this pure dragon chi came from the stacked jade legacy realm. It was several times denser than the Dragon Island. Even if they didn't cultivate, their strength would still increase rapidly. As for Xiao Hua, when his figure crashed into the crystal, a feeling as if a mountain was pressing down on his body came from his dragon vein Dharma body. It was as if his entire body was 100 times heavier than before. Boom! Without any noise, Xiao Hua's figure fell down like a meteorite. The dragon chi that killed the humans earlier immediately rushed into the dragon vein Dharma body frantically. Roar! Dragon vein Xiao Hua didn't say anything all along. At this moment, he let out a long roar and operated the dragon transformation secret art frantically. The seemingly corporeal dragon chi formed one after another tiny whirlpool and rushed into the dragon vein Dharma body. The dragon vein Dharma body actually gradually became plump. Damn it! Xiao Hua sensed the joy of the dragon vein Dharma body and cursed inwardly. This stacked jade legacy realm is just like a Dao sect's paradise. The dragon chi inside is very suitable for the dragon race to cultivate. No wonder the descendants of the dragon race are crying and shouting to come in. Looking at this situation, even if they don't get anything in this legacy realm, just the dragon chi absorbed here is enough for them. However, fellow dragon vein Dharma body, can we fly first? Oh no! Xiao Hua wanted to urge his avatar to stop the falling momentum, but he saw a huge mountain range, a huge tree, and a boulder several thousand feet in size. Then, there was no more. Boom! Xiao Hua landed on a boulder. However, this boulder didn't shatter under his attack. It only split into two halves with a cracking sound. Looking at the huge rock, a golden crystal also fell to the ground. Fellow Daoist. Xiao Hua crawled up from the ground with difficulty, rubbed his butt, and complained, I don't have any objections to you eating and drinking dragon energy, but can't you fly first? Don't you know that landing posture is very ugly? Dragon vein Xiao Hua spoke with excitement. This is a fragment of the dragon realm? Was it a corner of the dragon field? I feel that this place is really great. It is much better than the hidden immortal continent and even the dragon island. Xiao Hua replied snappily, that's for you. Compared to me, this is the celestial world. How can it not be good? Didn't I painstakingly train to ascend and become an immortal? You can ascend and become an immortal all of a sudden, how can it not be beautiful? Unfortunately, this is only a fragment of the dragon field. Moreover, it seems like the connection with the dragon field has already been cut off. Otherwise, I really want to hide here and not go out. Dragon vein Xiao Hua is still channeling his energy while talking with Xiao Hua. That dragon energy unceasingly rushes into his body. Chumph, is there anything else to say? It is definitely a fragment. Moreover, the connection with the dragon field has been cut off. Xiao Hua sneered, otherwise, the 9 elders of the dragon island would have already entered. Who would have the patience to train bitterly in the dragon island? Dragon vein Xiao Hua noticed the golden crystal on the ground and asked in a low voice, this is a dragon crystal, right? Xiao Hua raised his hand and waved. That crystal didn't have any movement. Xiao Hua's magic power only leaked out of his body, but it couldn't go very far. Xiao Hua's expression changed. He hurriedly released his divine sense, Buddhist sense, and soul sense. Unfortunately, no matter which one it was, it couldn't go very far. This is troublesome. Although it isn't as serious as what the Dragon Hall Great Elder said, it is almost the same. Xiao Hua pinched his chin and looked at the hazy surroundings within the dragon energy. That distant mountain peak soars into the sky and the dense forest similarly covers the sun. If he didn't use his divine sense, how could he distinguish the danger with his naked eyes? At the same time that Xiao Hua was secretly complaining, he also used the eye-clearing technique and elemental sense that he wasn't very good at. Fortunately, elemental sense can be used a bit in this stacked jade legacy realm. Although it can't go as far as the divine sense outside, it is better than nothing. Xiao Hua sighed. He bent down and picked up the crystal. He squinted his eyes and looked at it. This crystal is different from the crystal in the stacked jade legacy realm. It is irregular and the surface also doesn't have the small dragon scale-shaped flat surface. When Xiao Hua raised the crystal and looked at the light coming from the sky, the crystal is completely bright inside. It doesn't have the flowing colors of the stacked jade legacy realm. Fellow Daoist, don't think too much. Dragon vein Xiao Hua said with a smile, if I didn't expect, this dragon crystal is condensed from the dragon energy of the stacked jade legacy realm. It is the same as the elemental stones of the hidden immortal continent. However, this stacked jade legacy realm is a fragment of the dragon domain. This dragon crystal must contain a lot of dragon energy. It is just right for I to use. Hearing this, Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and asked, fellow Daoist dragon vein, do you feel that the dragon race's heavenly dragon speech technique is somewhat similar to my Dao sex magic? I have never seen the true heavenly dragon speech technique. However, didn't fellow Daoist also comprehend this dragon transformation art? Are there traces of Dao sect's magic inside? Dragon vein Xiao Hua reminded, especially the first layer of the dragon transformation art is to temper the dragon body. It is extremely similar to the tempering of meridians in Dao sect's magic. Oh, look at this dragon crystal again. Isn't it the same as the Dao sect's elemental stones? Right, try tempering this dragon crystal using the method of tempering the earth crystal yarrow milk in the past. Xiao Hua's eyes flashed with understanding as he handed the dragon crystal to Dragon Vein Xiao Hua. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua opened his mouth and the dragon crystal entered his mouth. However, after a moment, his face was filled with astonishment as he said with a somewhat hurried tone, "Fellow Daoist, you are right. This dragon crystal can indeed be tempered. However, the effect of this dragon crystal is different from the earth crystal yarrow milk. It can enrich Ai's body." Good. Xiao Hua's eyes lit up as he clapped his hands and exclaimed, "Since that is the case, I will get more dragon crystals with you. Also, fellow Daoist." Dragon Vein Xiao Hua reminded again, "Since you can use elemental thoughts in this legacy realm, I presume fellow Daoist's demon body can also use it. Even if the dragon race is somewhat different from the demon race, they are still demons after all." I understand." Xiao Hua looked at the trees and rocks that were much larger than him and nodded. "This place is similar to the legacy realm. Everything is like a prehistoric land. If you want to survive here, you must use your transcendent's golden body." As he spoke, Xiao Hua urged the demon aura in his body. His body flashed with a dark golden luster as his transcendent's golden body was displayed and turned into 100 feet in size. At the same time that Xiao Hua used his divine ability, Dragon Vein Xiao Hua also flew out from Xiao Hua's body. Sure enough, Xiao Hua, who had lost the protection of the dragon aura, although there was a slight sizzling sound all over his body, the extremely rich dragon aura could no longer cause substantial harm to Xiao Hua. Boom tilde. As soon as Xiao Hua's transcendent's golden body was formed, he immediately took out the wishful staff in his hand and hit a huge rock. In the roar, the huge rock was split into two and the golden dragon crystal could be seen inside. Xiao Hua released his mind and rolled it slightly, and the dragon crystal was taken into the space. Roar. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua roared, and his dragon tail hit another huge rock. Unfortunately, Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's tail seemed thin and the huge rock did not split. "Haha, fellow Daoist, you still don't have a body and can't take shape. How can you destroy this huge rock?" Xiao Hua laughed. "You should cultivate by yourself first and let I help you get the dragon crystal." "Okay, I'll have to trouble you, fellow Daoist." Dragon Vein Xiao Hua was not polite. He responded and urged the dragon transformation secret art, and the rich dragon aura of nearly 1,000 feet gathered again. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua was good at refining the heaven and earth essence chi, and he did not have a body at all. The dragon aura was like a part of his body. Once it came into contact with Dragon Vein Xiao Hua, it immediately integrated into it. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's cultivation speed here was simply 100 times faster than in the hidden immortal continent. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua cultivated endlessly. Xiao Hua was not idle either. Holding the wishful staff, he cracked the huge rocks one by one. What made Xiao Hua overjoyed was that there was a dragon crystal in each huge rock. Xiao Hua had already picked up dozens of pieces of it. In the valley where Xiao Hua fell, there were not many huge rocks left. Xiao Hua released his essence perception and had a rough look. He then urged the demon cloud to forcefully fly to a mountain rock. This mountain rock was only at a corner of the mountain peak, and Xiao Hua couldn't see very far from it. The mountain peak where Xiao Hua was at was surrounded by towering mountain ranges. There were some valleys between the mountain ranges. These valleys and mountain ranges were covered by rich dragon aura. Xiao Hua could not see clearly what it was like in the distance. Xiao Hua looked up at the steep mountain range. He was not in a hurry. He jumped down from the mountain rock and slowly walked to another valley. There were some huge rocks scattered there. There was no sun or moon in the stacked jadeite legacy realm. Estimating the time, Xiao Hua worked hard like this for 3 days in a row. He searched all the mountain valleys within a radius of a few li and collected hundreds and thousands of dragon crystals. Looking at the rubble everywhere, Xiao Hua clapped his hands in satisfaction and put away the wishful staff. He looked at the grey sky again and said puzzledly, "What's going on with this Aosheng? Didn't we agree to let me wait in the same place and he could rely on the secret technique of the dragon clan to find me? It's been 3 days, why hasn't he come yet? Without his guidance, how can I find the dragon cleansing pool? Not to mention that the location of the dragon cleansing pool is different from last time. Even if the location of the dragon cleansing pool is recorded in the true dragon tablet, can I find it myself? -13. Chapter 4009. At this time, Xiao Hua wanted to call Fu Juwen and the others out, but looking at the surrounding dragon qi that could burst the body of an ordinary monster, Xiao Hua still extinguished this thought. Forget it, let's walk around casually first. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and made a decision. I can't just stay here and not move. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua only walked a few li, and before he stepped out of the mountain range, his attention fell into a valley again. This valley was about 1,000 zhong high and several thousand zhong wide, and it was filled with large and small boulders. Xiao Hua's gaze seemed to have seen through the boulders and saw the dragon crystal inside. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hua laughed and threw the idea of looking for Ao Sheng to the back of his mind. He rushed into the valley with large strides and began to smash the boulders to search for the crystal again. After smashing for a while, Shua, a yuan sense swept over from a distance. After this yuan sense fell on Xiao Hua's body, it swept across the entire valley and then withdrew without stopping. Oh! Is it Ao Sheng? Xiao Hua put away the wishful staff, straightened up, and looked outside the valley. In just half a cup of tea's time, a roar came from the sky. Human, quickly get out of here. Along with this nauseating sound, 1,000 zhong long earthy yellow dragon swayed its tail and fell from the sky. At this time, the surface of this dragon's body was different from that of the dragon island. It seemed to be covered with a thick layer of armor. The rich dragon qi wrapped his dragon body tightly, and the dragon qi was full of whirlpools. Layers of earthy clouds floated around the armor. In particular, in this stacked Jade Legacy realm, the dragon might of the dragon race was even more fierce. Before he even got close, the dragon might firmly covered Xiao Hua, as if it wanted to give Xiao Hua a show of strength. Xiao Hua was not nervous at all. He looked at the dragon with interest and said with a smile, "Immortal friend, which dragon palace are you from? Don't you know what is first come first serve? I am from the South Sea Dragon Palace." The dragon did not hide his identity and shouted, "You, a human, can enter the stacked Jade Legacy realm to gain experience. It is already a great fortune. You still want to talk to me about first come first serve? To tell you the truth, in this stacked Jade Legacy realm, strength is everything. Not to mention you, even if Ao Sheng is here, as long as he can't beat me, he will have to give up this valley. I see that you are a human. I am afraid that you don't understand the rules here, so I am so long-winded with you. If you still don't leave, don't blame me for being impolite." While speaking, the dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws and pounced on Xiao Hua. Although Xiao Hua, he was still a child in front of 1,000 zhong-long dragon. Roar! Just at this time, dragon vein Xiao Hua suddenly rushed out from high up in the valley. He let out a long roar in midair, and actually seemed like a huge dragon that was several thousand meters long as he swayed his head and tail and pounced over. Dragon vein Xiao Hua didn't have the body of a real dragon. Previously, he was lying on top of the mountain range and absorbing the endless dragon qi as much as he wanted. Therefore, the huge dragon didn't notice dragon vein Xiao Hua's trace at all. At this moment, when it saw dragon vein Xiao Hua pouncing over, it was so scared that it trembled. However, the giant dragon only trembled for a moment before immediately noticing Xiao Hua's abnormality. He suddenly looked at Xiao Hua again as if he had thought of something. You are Xiao Hua of the Dao sect of the human race?" The huge dragon stopped and asked in surprise. Xiao Hua nodded and replied, "That's right, it's me. No wonder you are so fearless." The giant dragon hurriedly released his yuanshan and said, "So Ao Sheng is here too." However, the giant dragon looked for a moment and did not see Ao Sheng. A strange look unwittingly appeared on his face and he said with a smile, "I understand. When you entered the stacked Jade Legacy realm and separated from Ao Sheng, he still hasn't found you. Ha ha ha. The heavens have really opened their eyes. I've just entered the stacked Jade Legacy realm and I've already encountered such a great lucky chance. As it spoke, the giant dragon's body flashed with golden light, and its body continued to expand. It gave up on Xiao Hua and pounced towards the dragon vein Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua stared blankly and hastily cried out, "That vile dragon! We are all from the Dragon Island who came to the stacking Jade Legacy realm to gain experience. If you want the dragon crystal in this valley, this Xiao can give it to you. Why must you attack this Xiao? What do you know?" The huge dragon roared and shouted, "Although this dragon crystal can be used for cultivation and strengthen this daddy's dragon chi, how can it compare to the nourishment of your human bloodline? Be obedient and let this lousy devour your bloodline and help this lousy step into the sun-devouring realm." Roar! How could the dragon vein Xiao Hua give in? With a loud roar, the giant dragon's body relentlessly coiled over. Ha ha! The giant dragon laughed loudly. Its dragon claws streaked across the air, raising wind blades that were similar to flying swords. Its dragon tail also swayed and struck towards the back of the dragon vein Xiao Hua. On the ferocious dragon head, a pair of dragon horns produced a strong fluctuation. That fluctuation gradually condensed into a strange dragon rune in the air. "It's just blood chi. I don't know how much I've eaten back then. Today, this lousy is lucky to have met you as soon as I entered. I'm afraid that this luck will be envied by the other dragons." Hee hee. Xiao Hua sneered. At this moment, he suddenly understood the look in the eyes of those dragons when they looked at him before he entered the stacked Jade Legacy realm. That strange look was not envy, jealousy, or hatred, but covetous. Covetous like a dog seeing a meat bun. Roar! The dragon vein Xiao Hua screamed. The giant dragon's dragon claws slashed down and instantly cut open his dragon body. Although this dragon body had already been tempered by the dragon transformation art, after all, it was still a short time. Especially this dragon body, it was not a real dragon body at all. Immediately after, with a loud bang, the giant dragon's dragon tail smashed onto the back of the dragon vein Xiao Hua. Not only did it shatter the dragon body, it also hit the dragon vein Xiao Hua more than 300 meters down. At this moment, the giant dragon's dragon horns condensed like a giant sword. As long as the giant sword of the dragon crystal slashed down, the dragon vein Xiao Hua would definitely be split into two and fall into the giant dragon's mouth to be eaten. At this moment, Xiao Hua, who was already regarded as a dead object, was still unhurried. With a cold face, he looked at the raging giant dragon and asked, "Looks like you've swallowed a lot of human blood chi. Haha, you humans worship my dragon race, isn't it because you want to submit to my dragon race? Besides, you humans are originally my dragon race's food. Being able to be eaten by me is your fortune." The giant dragon laughed loudly. "Once you're in my stomach, let my dragon chi nourish you every day." As it spoke, the giant sword appeared at the giant dragon's dragon horn. The wind and clouds above the entire valley surged. A giant sword-shaped dragon rune made a loud noise and smashed towards the dragon vein Xiao Hua's body. "You're just a star-plucking realm little dragon, yet you dare to be arrogant in front of me." Xiao Hua smiled coldly. Demonic clouds swirled around his body. Heavenly law embodiment technique and heavenly human body bestowment technique were used once again. The draconic chi that was previously occupied by the giant dragon also crazily entered Xiao Hua's Dharma idol. What was special was that even the mighty dragon runes paled in comparison to the surging cloud. When the giant dragon saw this, he couldn't help but be a little shocked. However, seeing that the dragon rune had already fallen, a mocking look appeared in his eyes. He knew in his heart that as long as his dragon rune fell, Xiao Hua's dragon blood dharma body would definitely be shattered, and without the support of the bloodline, the human race would be as fragile as a paper lantern. Woo! Just when the giant dragon thought that victory was in his hands, he saw Xiao Hua's dharma body suddenly wave, and a thick iron staff appeared in his hand. The iron staff made a roaring sound and smashed towards the dragon rune with lightning speed. Has this person lost his mind? The giant dragon couldn't help but ridicule in his heart. The dragon claws danced again, grabbing towards Xiao Hua's heart. He laughed wildly and said, "Human race, let me taste your heart and see if it's as big as I think." Boom! The giant dragon's dragon claws had just explored when the wishful steel staff suddenly swelled and hit the dragon rune. In the huge roar, a corner of the dragon rune was smashed, and the power of the entire dragon rune was reduced by 30%. However, the dragon rune seemed to have the essence of the giant dragon mixed in it. At the moment when the wishful steel staff hit, it drifted a few feet and avoided the wishful steel staff. The remaining 70% of the giant sword shape did not stop and still fell with a roar. This is interesting. The giant dragon was surprised. The dragon claws that could crush ordinary magic weapons had already reached not far from Xiao Hua's heart, and the fierce strength had covered Xiao Hua's dark golden skin. Roar tilde! The dragon vein Xiao Hua screamed, and the huge body flew in the direction of Xiao Hua. The dragon rune was like a sword that also slashed towards Xiao Hua. Fight! Xiao Hua roared, clenched his right fist, and greeted the dragon rune. Xiao Hua's fist was like a meteor, and the battle momentum was like a tide. The surging fighting spirit in his body could pierce the sky. Boom! Compared to the previous impact of the wishful steel staff, it was even more earth-shattering. Half of the dragon rune was shattered by Xiao Hua's right fist, and the other half fell on Xiao Hua's arm. Under the powerful force, cracks appeared on Xiao Hua's right fist, and his shoulder was also torn a few feet long. Even Xiao Hua's transcendent's golden body was also beaten to the ground by the dragon rune. While the dragon was still in shock, its eyes flashed with a sinister light. The dragon claw suddenly turned into a shadow and disappeared in midair. After a few breaths of time, the dragon claw appeared in front of Xiao Hua's chest and landed on Xiao Hua's chest with a ka-cha-cha sound. A bone-deep injury appeared in the dark golden color. Roar! The dragon roared. The dragon aura within several dozen li became violent again. The dragon claw flashed with an earthen yellow brilliance and went straight for Xiao Hua's chest. Ha ha! Just when the mouth and nose of the giant dragon had smelled the sweetness of the human heart, Xiao Hua's laughter came. The dragon claws of the giant dragon suddenly seemed to be imprisoned by a boulder, and could no longer pierce into Xiao Hua's body. Moreover, the dragon's eyes were dazzled. Xiao Hua's fist was several times more violent than before, and suddenly hit the chest of the giant dragon. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the almost indestructible dragon scales were suddenly shattered. The strength of the fist was like a mountain falling down, and the giant dragon's eyes turned black, and it almost fell from the sky. -13. Chapter 40:10. How is this possible? The giant dragon was shocked. Its neck struggled frantically, and its bloody mouth was about to swallow Xiao Hua's head. Come on! Xiao Hua shouted, and his body once again emitted a whimpering sound like a tide, and his transcendent's golden body swelled again. Boom! Without waiting for the giant dragon's bloody mouth to fall, the wishful steel staff flashed mysteriously. The giant dragon had no time to dodge and was hit on the bridge of its nose. The giant dragon roared, and tears flowed uncontrollably from its nose. Even its fierce eyes flashed with blood. Boom, boom, boom. Just as the giant dragon was about to swing its tail to kill Xiao Hua from behind, it heard a series of movements. A fist wind that could shatter a mountain fell on the body of the giant dragon like raindrops. This fist was so hard that not only did it disperse the dragon chi around the giant dragon's body, but it also knocked off the dragon's scales. Even the dragon's body under the dragon's scales was hit with a huge crack, and the dragon's blood had already flowed out. Damn it, damn it. The dragon tried its best to pull out its dragon claw, but the dragon claw seemed to have been cast into Xiao Hua's body. No matter how hard the dragon tried, it couldn't pull it out. The dragon couldn't help but roar. Waves of dragon breath blew out from its bloody mouth like a gale. Fellow Daoist, it's your turn. In the face of the dragon's breath that couldn't be dealt with by spiritual power, Xiao Hua was not nervous. He laughed and lifted his left foot, kicking toward the abdomen of the giant dragon. Woo woo! Dragon vein Xiao Hua had been hovering behind Xiao Hua. Now that he heard Xiao Hua's command, he proudly raised his head from the top of Xiao Hua's head. The dragon's mouth, which was larger than the southern sea giant dragon, opened, and a powerful suction force was born from the dragon's mouth. With the suction force, dragon vein Xiao Hua's true dragon aura suddenly bloomed, like a tide pressing down on the giant dragon. Ah! This is true dragon chi? How can you have true dragon chi? The figure of the southern sea giant dragon couldn't help but tremble. The dragon's breath changed direction under this suction force and flew toward Dragon Vein Xiaohua. Not good. When the southern sea giant dragon saw the dragon breath land in Xiaohua's mouth and was immediately swallowed by him, it immediately became vigilant and struggled with all its might, wanting to escape from Xiaohua's hands. Unfortunately, just as he struggled, Xiaohua's fists and kicks and the wishful staff fell again. The southern sea dragon could only deal with it tiredly. In just a few moments, the southern sea giant dragon's skin and flesh were lacerated, and dragon blood flowed out. This was nothing. What caused the southern sea dragon's soul to fly out of his body was that the dragon vein Xiaohua, who was supposed to be devoured by him, had now opened his bloody mouth. A surging suction force was sucking away the dragon aura within his body. No matter how he activated the dragon clan's secret technique, he was unable to stop the dragon aura from flying out of his body. Under normal circumstances, the giant dragon of the southern sea would have either torn his opponent to shreds or fled immediately. Either way, he would have been able to escape death. However, at this moment, his dragon claws were embedded in Xiaohua's body and could not be pulled out. Xiaohua's physical body and martial arts were several levels above his. Even if he wanted to escape, he could not. Roar! The southern sea dragon let out a sorrowful cry, and a wash-basin-sized dragon pearl was spat out from his mouth. As soon as the dragon pearl fell into the air, the dragon aura within 100 miles seemed to boil and rushed toward the dragon pearl. A fierce little dragon of 100 feet in size flashed with dragon patterns as it fiercely rushed toward Dragon Vein Xiaohua. The little dragon was only 1,000 feet away from the Dragon Vein Xiaohua. Hundreds of spatial cracks appeared in this 1,000 feet space as the little dragon flew past. Within those cracks, there was an endless amount of dragon chi that seemed to be even smaller little dragons surging out. When Dragon Vein Xiaohua saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. Haha, what a stupid dragon. If you fight with I face to face, how can I be your opponent? But if you take out this dragon aura and dragon pearl, even if you have 2 more, you are still not I's opponent. With that, Dragon Vein Xiaohua's body surged with powerful dragon aura, and suddenly, it shrouded the surrounding hundreds of feet of space. The void that was torn by the dragon pearl was instantly repaired by Dragon Vein Xiaohua's dragon aura, and the seemingly endless dragon aura fell into Dragon Vein Xiaohua's body. Your bloodline can still speak? The southern sea dragon was shocked and cried out, could it be, you have already mastered the art of fake body? This is impossible. Woo! As Dragon Vein Xiaohua rushed over, the fierce dragon pearl also fell into his mouth. No matter how the southern sea dragon urged the dragon pearl, there was no movement. How could Xiaohua answer the question of the southern sea dragon? His face showed a fierce expression, and his hands waved at the same time. Boom! The southern sea dragon was overturned on the ground, and then his right hand raised to the sky, raised the wishful steel staff, and stabbed towards the neck of the southern sea dragon. Puff! The sound of silk being torn was heard, and the wishful steel staff penetrated the body of the southern sea dragon and went straight into the ground. The dragon roared in pain, and its whole body rolled on the ground crazily. However, the wishful steel staff penetrated the ground like a sea-stabilizing needle, nailing the southern sea dragon there. This old man's disciple has long wanted to eat dragon meat skewers, and this old man wants to find an evil dragon to pull out the dragon tendons and skin the dragon. You are good, seeing this old man, you didn't hide, but actually came over. You must have eaten too many people before, and those vengeful spirits sent you here. As the saying goes, if you often stand by the river, how can your shoes not be wet? You will admit defeat today. Xiaohua sneered, raised his hand, and grabbed the tail of the southern sea dragon. His 5 fingers grabbed the tail, and immediately, a thumb-thick dragon tendon was held in his hand. You dare! The southern sea dragon shouted, this is the fragment of the dragon domain. If you dare to attack my dragon race, the dragon domain Shenron will definitely kill you. Haha, since you know it's a fragment, don't expect anything from the Shenron. Xiaohua laughed. Besides, no matter where you are, if you dare to kill my human race cultivators, This old man will dare to kill your dragon race. Ah! The southern sea dragon screamed, and the dragon body collapsed to the ground. The tough dragon tendon was pulled out by Xiao Hua. Taking advantage of the collapse of the southern sea dragon's body, dragon bloodline Xiao Hua's figure fell on his dragon body, but a shadow came out of the southern sea dragon's body and fell into dragon bloodline Xiao Hua's body. Woo woo! Dragon bloodline Xiao Hua made a sound without wind, and within his whole body, endless dragon runes rolled, and a ray of light gushed out, shooting straight into the air. Ha 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 ha! Dragon bloodline Xiao Hua looked up to the sky and laughed, and the dragon chi overflowed. Fellow Daoist, you said it very well. If you often stand by the river, how can your shoes not be wet? This evil dragon usually devours the blood of the dragon race's descendants, but I didn't expect it to be devoured by I today. With this evil dragon's blood essence, I can cultivate for 100 years less. Chimpage. Seeing that the southern sea dragon's blood essence and dragon chi were gone, Xiao Hua also hardened his heart and coldly snorted, those who kill will be killed. Even if it's the dragon race, it's the same. Then, Xiao Hua pulled out the wishful staff, released his mind, and put the southern sea dragon into the space, and threw the dragon tendon to Fu Jiwen and the others. Putting aside whether or not Yuan Ya had really barbecued this southern sea giant dragon, Xiao Hua withdrew his transcendent's golden body and looked at the dragon vein that was boiling with dragon runes. He frowned and said, Fellow Daoist, could it be that you also want to devour more dragons in this stacked jade legacy realm? Hee hee. Dragon bloodline Xiao Hua laughed. I know that the demon race uses devouring as the orthodox cultivation method, but I have never devoured a dragon race, and I don't know the mystery inside. Today, after a little test, I already know the mystery inside. The demon race is different from the human race. They devour the power of the stars and moon, devour dragon chi, and their cultivation is devouring. I am dragon bloodline, so I can naturally devour everything in the world. Alas, Xiao Hua sighed, and said with some disappointment, maybe. Fellow Daoist doesn't need to sigh. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua said, you and I are different, there is no need to compare, and there is no need to worry. This little one cultivates the Confucian Tao, and the main purpose is to refine the breath of life in the chest. Buddha body cultivates Dharma, and has long been on a different path from us. Now that fellow Daoist dragon bloodline devours dragon chi, isn't it the same as fellow Daoist heavenly phoenix cultivates the bloodline of the holy? Doesn't your Tao sect have a saying that the heavens and earth are not benevolent, treating all things as straw dogs? Look at that southern sea dragon just now. In your opinion, his crime of devouring the blood of human cultivators is unforgivable, but in his eyes, this is an extremely normal thing. Fellow Daoist, don't worry. Dragon bloodline Xiao Hua said with a smile, humans are human because they have humanity. I am a clone of the human race, relying on the humanity in my heart. I will not casually harm the heavens and bully the weak. Hehe, you don't have to say anything more. Xiao Hua smiled slightly. I have 10 primordial spirits, and each of us has our own path, each of us has our own opportunities. How can I not know this? I just feel a little lonely, and in the future, we may go further and further away. Perhaps. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua and dragon bloodline Xiao Hua were both speechless. Haha, not bad, there are so many dragon crystals. Xiao Hua raised his head and looked over, only to see that at the place where he was fighting with the southern sea giant dragon, many huge boulders had been split open, and the dragon crystals within them had fallen out. He laughed loudly, and his mind swept up all of the dragon crystals and collected them. Afterward, Xiao Hua was too lazy to use the wishful staff to break the stones, and stepped into the valley with dragon bloodline Xiao Hua. Wherever he passed, all the boulders were collected by his mind. Woo-woo. Just when Xiao Hua had walked halfway, a strange whistling sound suddenly came from the sky of the valley. When Xiao Hua heard this sound, he immediately shouted, not good, fellow Daoist dragon bloodline, quickly come back. This folded jadeite legacy realm is about to change. Dragon bloodline Xiao Hua did not dare to neglect, and hurriedly rushed into Xiao Hua's body, while Xiao Hua urged his monster chi to rush toward the end of the valley, wanting to collect all the boulders before the change came. As soon as the whistling wind was born, the sky of the entire folded jadeite legacy realm immediately darkened, and all the dragon chi began to become violent. In just a few breaths, the legacy realm was turned upside down, the mountains were upside down, the ancient trees were slanted, and everything was like a picture scroll blown by the wind, completely blurred. -13. Chapter 40:11. Looking at Xiao Hua's figure again, the bronze luster slowly dispersed. His figure rapidly shrunk and gradually returned to its original form. As Xiao Hua walked, all of the huge rocks disappeared. However, even though Xiao Hua's movements were fast, he still couldn't compare to the changes in the Forgotten Realm. Just as he walked halfway through the valley turned upside down. Xiao Hua's figure also flew up. That small figure was like a withered grass, fluttering helplessly in this gale. Xiao Hua curled up his figure and tried his best to avoid colliding with the rocks and other objects in the folded jade Forgotten Realm. After that, he carefully released his primordial thought. Unfortunately, just as his primordial thought was released, it was immediately torn apart by a huge wind blade. Xiao Hua had no choice but to withdraw his primordial thought. He secretly cursed in his heart, "Damn it, don't say any more. That golden crystal is definitely the folded jade Forgotten Realm itself. It's not just an entrance. The changes in everything right now are the overflowing images in that crystal." However, the Dragon Palace Hall's True Dragon Tablet clearly stated that this change would normally only happen when the folded jade Forgotten Realm is closed. During ordinary experimental training, it wouldn't happen so easily. Could it be that there are other changes in this folded jade Forgotten Realm? Thinking until here, with a loud boom, Xiao Hua's figure crashed into a mountain rock. This rumbling sound was really nothing compared to the earth-shattering movement. However, the force of Xiao Hua's collision still penetrated the entire mountain rock. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to shake off the stone fragments on his body, the hurricane lifted him into the air again. Narrowing his eyes, he looked at the countless chi pillars wreaking havoc in the space. Xiao Hua's heart moved and he thought again, this folded jade Forgotten Realm is known as the fragment of the Dragon Domain. Although the Dragon Island didn't explain its origin and from the outside, it doesn't seem to have any relation with the Dragon Domain, there is a mysterious boundary in the folded jade Forgotten Realm. However, the True Dragon Tablet also said that there was a mysterious thin layer of space at the edge of the stacked Jade Legacy Land. As long as a dragon, human, or demon fell in, no matter how tough their body was, they would be crushed. Could it be that this folded jade Forgotten Realm matches what fellow Daoist Longmai thought? There really are some places that have some relation with the Dragon Domain, that's for sure. Thinking until here, Xiao Hua unconsciously thought of the Dragon Island's purpose of letting over 10,000 dragons and their descendants come to the folded jade Forgotten Realm for experimental training. The 9 elders of the Dragon Island didn't tell me the truth. Unfortunately, even though Ao Sheng looked like a little dragon, he was very scheming at times. It was not easy to get information out of him. Hihi, this Xiao was wrong. What does the Dragon Island's goal have to do with this Xiao? I only need to find the incomplete Dragon Jade and the Dragon Cleansing Pool. As for the rest, they can do whatever they want. This Xiao will absolutely not interfere. Hong hong hong. A series of sounds rang out, and a mountain range actually flew horizontally across the sky. Xiao Hua didn't have any hesitation, and his figure crashed into the mountain range with a loud bang. Moreover, this mountain range was extremely thick, and for a moment, it was not easy for Xiao Hua to come out. Haha, that's great. Xiao Hua, who had fallen into a predicament, was not alarmed but happy instead. He smiled and said, this Xiao can finally be stable. It won't be too late for this Xiao to come out after this mountain range stabilizes in the Forgotten Realm. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua's wishful thinking hadn't even started. Boom! Another huge sound came from outside the mountain range, and even the entire mountain range shook. Xiao Hua originally thought that the mountain had already landed, but a series of loud noises immediately followed. Xiao Hua's figure, which was embedded in the mountain, felt shaken. Damn it, the mountain range must have crashed together. Xiao Hua slightly released his elemental perception, and sensed that the mountain rocks of the mountain range had already loosened, and was about to drill into the depths of the mountain range again. Ah! A blood-curdling scream came from the collision sound, And then, with another rumble, an extremely unlucky huge dragon flew across the sky and crashed into the side of the mountain range that Xiao Hua was in. The huge dragon's figure was not easy to shrink in this folded emerald forgotten realm, and it was even a bit bigger. The force of this collision was extremely great, and the place where Xiao Hua was embedded originally had some fine cracks. Now, these fine cracks had completely split open, and Xiao Hua's figure flew out from the mountain range. Just as Xiao Hua appeared in midair, two hurricanes attacked from high up in the sky, and slapped Xiao Hua together with that huge dragon towards the ground. Woo! Two whistling sounds of wind, and one dragon and one person were about to smash into the ground. It was also at this moment that, catcher! The ground suddenly split open, and a suction force that was even more powerful than the distortion of space was born from the crack, enveloping the surrounding several thousand jong of space. Not good. Nearly 100 jong in size, the mountain top that had just been knocked down by the huge force of the crack, turned into a few feet in size, and fell into the crack. Xiao Hua was scared out of his wits. Grandma, is this the thin layer of space around the folded emerald forgotten realm? Xiao Hua urged the dragon chi of the dragon vein to get out of this suction force. It was fine if he did not urge it, but as soon as he urged it, the suction force immediately increased. His figure instantly floated into the crack 100 jong. Xiao Hua immediately withdrew the dragon chi without hesitation, raised his hand, and waved it, and the wishful steel staff fell into his hand. Grow, grow, grow. Xiao Hua shouted several times, and with the strength of his arms, the wishful steel staff was inserted into the ground. Boom! With a soft sound, the wishful steel staff was inserted into the ground for a full 100 jong. Wang wang. Xiao Hua's figure horizontally, holding the wishful steel staff with both hands, and the wishful steel staff made a low roaring sound. Grow, grow, grow. Xiao Hua shouted desperately. The wishful steel staff seemed to know Xiao Hua's thoughts, and also desperately inserted into the ground. As the wishful steel staff went deeper, Xiao Hua's figure gradually stabilized. At this time, the giant dragon, who was caught by the suction force like Xiao Hua, was not so lucky. Although he tried his best to struggle, the more he struggled, the more he moved toward the crack. Now, a small half of the dragon's body had fallen into the crack, and the dragon's body had become a lot smaller. Daoist Xiao, save me. The giant dragon saw that Xiao Hua was stable and could not help but shout for help. Xiao Hua stabilized his mind and looked up at the dragon that he did not know. After thinking for a moment, he looked at the situation of the dragon and hurriedly shouted, "Okay, Daoist friend, don't worry, quickly find a way to throw out your dragon tail. This Xiao can save you by grabbing your dragon tail. Okay." At this time, the dragon slanted into the crack, and his tail was close to Xiao Hua's left side. After listening to Xiao Hua's suggestion, he hesitated. If he threw his dragon tail to Xiao Hua, then his dragon head would definitely fall into the crack first, and Xiao Hua would not necessarily be able to grab his tail. Of course, he only paused for a moment. Then, he threw all his eggs in one basket and swung his dragon tail towards Xiao Hua's side. Whoosh! At this time, the dragon tail became small under the suction force of the crack. As the dragon tail swung, the dragon's head indeed entered the crack first. A faint fluctuation spread out from the dragon's head, and in a moment, it swept through the dragon's body. The dragon tail that was swinging towards Xiao Hua became even smaller. How could it still touch Xiao Hua? The moment the dragon disappeared into the crack, he saw that his dragon tail was dozens of feet away from Xiao Hua. His heart was already like dead ashes. He closed his eyes and waited for the moment when he would be torn apart by the space. Just as the pain came from the dragon's back, a huge force strangely came from his dragon tail. Xiao Hua's arm suddenly lengthened by more than 10 jong, firmly grabbing onto the dragon's tail. "Get up!" Xiao Hua shouted, wanting to pull the dragon out of the crack. However, the dragon's body was only able to escape from the crack. It couldn't completely escape the huge suction force. Sigh. Xiao Hua sighed slightly. He could only forcibly grab the dragon's tail and try his best not to let the dragon fall into the crack. However, the suction force of the crack was the power of heaven and earth. It was far beyond Xiao Hua's strength. It was just a cup of tea's time, but Xiao Hua's arm trembled slightly. Not only was he unable to hold the dragon firmly, but he could not even hold the wishful staff. Granny, this dragon's body is too big. The suction force he suffers is far greater than this Xiao's. Xiao Hua secretly complained. He knew in his heart that if he wanted to survive, he had to give up something. Only by giving up this dragon could he save his life. Xiao Hua needed to make a choice. Daoist Master Xiao, don't let go. The dragon had already noticed the trembling of Xiao Hua's arm and hurriedly shouted, as long as Daoist Master Xiao saves this one, no need to say more. Xiao Hua clenched his teeth and shouted, this Xiao knows that this Xiao will do his best to save you. Xiao Hua had just said this when a huge boulder flew from a distance and hit the wishful steel staff. Buzz! The wishful steel staff shook slightly, and Xiao Hua's hand couldn't help but tremble. Unfortunately, the brilliance in the slits suddenly increased, and the suction force doubled. Xiao Hua and the dragon's figure fell towards the brilliance. Shoo. Seeing that the dragon and the dragon were about to be swallowed by the thin layer of space, the entire forgotten realm flipped again. Xiao Hua and the dragon were pushed back 100 feet horizontally by a giant dragon. Just as Xiao Hua's figure moved away, a crisp sound rang out, and the man-eating crack actually closed. As soon as the strong suction force disappeared, Xiao Hua and the giant dragon flew up again. After the time it took to eat a meal, the entire folded jade forgotten realm calmed down. After the smoke and dust settled, a desolate remnant realm full of dragon chi once again appeared in front of Xiao Hua's eyes. Xiao Hua drilled out from the gap between two mountain rocks and stood there tiredly. In the coal of a mountain range a few hundred feet behind him, half of the dragon's body was badly mutilated and flew over with difficulty. Ao Man greets Daoist Master Xiao. As the dragon flew over, he raised his dragon claws and shouted, many thanks to Daoist Master for helping me. Otherwise, this one would have been swallowed by the thin layer of space. Hehe, you're welcome. Xiao Hua smiled and said, you and I both came to the folded jade forgotten realm to gain experience. Meeting each other is fate. Fellow Daoist does not have to worry about this matter. Ao Man hurriedly replied, this matter may not be much in the eyes of Daoist Master, but in this one's opinion, it is more important than the heaven. How about this, Daoist Master? This one has a dragon pearl here that I obtained from a deserted island. Although this thing is useful to me, if it is given to Daoist Master to nourish your bloodline, the effect will be better. This one will use it to thank Daoist Master for saving my life. -13. Chapter 40:12. Fellow Immortal, you don't have to be so polite, right? Xiao Hua looked at the golden dragon pearl. This thing was indeed different from other dragon pearls. However, Xiao Hua's dragon vein was not an ordinary true bloodline, so he might not be able to use it. Therefore, Xiao Hua rarely refused. However, Ao Man did not give up and continued to smile stubbornly. Daoist Master Xiao, you are wrong. As the saying goes, a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. Daoist Master saved me, and I only used this dragon pearl to thank Daoist Master. I already feel embarrassed. If Daoist Master doesn't even want this, how can I continue to train in this folded jade legacy realm? Xiao Hua did not know whether to laugh or cry. He thought for a moment and said, all right, since that is the case, then I will be disrespectful. Seeing Xiao Hua reach out to take the dragon pearl, Ao Man smiled and said, that's right, Daoist Master Xiao. I just entered the folded jade legacy realm and did not find any helpers. From now on, I will follow Daoist Master Xiao. Oh, right, Daoist Master, this dragon pearl has to be released into the true blood Dharma body to be effective. I just happen to have some secret techniques to teach Daoist Master. So it's like that. Xiao Hua smiled and nodded, I will summon my Dharma body now. All right. Ao Man raised his head and looked into the distance. Strange, isn't Ao Sheng with you? He should have come long ago. Even if there are changes in the folded jade legacy realm, it is impossible for him to not find you. While speaking, dragon vein Xiao Hua had already flown out from the top of Xiao Hua's head. The huge dragon mouth opened and the dragon pearl was sucked into his mouth. Seeing that the dragon was about to be sucked away by dragon vein Xiao Hua, Ao Man suddenly turned his head and spat out a mouthful of dragon breath that he had been brewing. Within the dragon breath, a hair-thin crystal-like object rushed out and instantly entered the dragon pearl. Ao! The dragon pearl roared and transformed into a 1-foot-long little dragon that crazily pounced on dragon vein Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua was shocked and hurriedly shouted, "Fellow immortal Ao, what are you doing?" "Ha ha ha." Ao Man laughed loudly, his face revealing a sinister expression. "Xiao Hua, a little human like you actually dare to come to my dragon race's sacred realm to train? Why don't you take a piss and look to see your own shadow? Don't think that you have Ao Sheng backing you up. What can a little dragon like him do? We dragons of the 4 seas don't dare to touch him, but what's so difficult about devouring your bloodline?" As he spoke, Ao Man moved his body and pounced towards dragon vein Xiao Hua. On his damaged dragon head, greed overflowed from his eyes. "Ha ha." Xiao Hua laughed out loud. "Ao Man, have you heard of the story of the farmer and the snake that is widely spread among our human race?" Seeing that Xiao Hua was so calm, and that the dragon bloodline Dharma body that was still dodging suddenly stopped dodging and even opened its mouth, allowing the little dragon to enter its mouth, Ao Man had a bad feeling in his heart. His expression changed slightly, and he sneered, "This old man naturally heard that story, but you are not a farmer, and this old man is not a snake." "That's right. This Xiao is not a farmer, and you are not a snake. But the essence of being ungrateful is the same." Xiao Hua sneered as well. The bronze light around his body shone brightly, and the heavenly laws embodiment technique was executed once again. Dragon vein Xiao Hua laughed sinisterly, opened its mouth, and a strong suction force was produced. Your bloodline Dharma body can actually absorb this old man's dragon chi?" Seeing that a suction force appeared out of thin air and enveloped the dragon chi on his body, a strange feeling of being penetrated through his body, Ao Man turned pale with fright. Xiao Hua waved his fist, pounced forward, and shouted, "Not only that. This Xiao also knows how to subdue dragons and tigers." Seeing this, how could Ao Man not know that Xiao Hua had long been on guard? And he had fallen into Xiao Hua's trap, so he hurriedly shook his head and wagged his tail, wanting to escape. Unfortunately, at this moment, how could he still have the chance to escape? How could Xiao Hua let him go? After a few moves, Ao Man was pressed to the ground by Xiao Hua. The dragon vein Xiao Hua fell into Ao Man's dragon body. Countless dragon runes tumbled in Ao Man's body, and rays of multicolored light swarmed out. Xiao Hua raised his hand and grabbed without pity, taking Ao Man's broken dragon body into the space. He snorted coldly and said, "You want to use this Xiao's bloodline to repair your chi and blood? Ao Man, your plan is really shrewd. Fellow Daoist." Dragon vein Xiao Hua got the advantage and said with a smile, "Do you know how to fish?" "Fish?" Xiao Hua asked curiously. "I know what fishing is. I seem to have fished when I was young. What does fellow Daoist mean?" Dragon vein Xiao Hua looked up at the stacked jade legacy realm that had completely changed and said with a smile, "There are so many small fish here, don't you want to catch a few?" Xiao Hua suddenly understood, and a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. After thinking for a while, he said, "Okay, let's go and see how many small dragons we can catch." Immediately after, Xiao Hua looked around. While using his mind to collect the huge rocks in the surroundings, he walked out of the mountain range. In the next 10 days, not only did Xiao Hua harvest a lot of huge rocks, his fishing plan was also very successful. Every dragon that saw Xiao Hua pounced on him with bared fangs and brandished claws, wanting to devour his bloodline doppelganger. However, every single one of them became Xiao Hua's prey. In 10 days, he actually caught 12 huge dragons. In the end, even Xiao Hua himself felt that it was a little inconceivable. "Damn it, fellow Daoist dragon vein." Xiao Hua took a huge rock and an earthen yellow dragon body into the space. Looking at the dragon vein Xiao Hua, whose body was full of dragon runes, he said with a bitter smile, "Are these dragons all idiots? I stayed in the stacked jade legacy realm for more than 10 days. If I was easy to be devoured, wouldn't I have disappeared long ago? Why do they look at I as if they saw a meat bun?" Fellow Daoist's performance in the dragon chi realm is too shocking. Dragon vein Xiao Hua seemed to have eaten his fill. He picked his teeth with satisfaction and said with a smile, I's bloodline doppelganger that is even bigger than Aoshung's dragon body has long become another target for them to enter the stacked jade legacy realm. All right. Xiao Hua smacked his lips and shrugged, then let's see who's prey. Roar. At this moment, a huge dragon roar came from afar. Xiao Hua's familiar origin thought swept over, and then Aoshung's anxious voice came, Xiao Hua, put away your dragon vein doppelganger. Quickly fly up. Xiao Hua was slightly startled. Just as he was about to speak, Aoshung shouted again, quickly, or else it will be too late. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly put away his dragon vein doppelganger and urged his demon body to fly up. At this moment, dozens of origin thoughts swept over along with Aoshung's origin thought. When they landed on Xiao Hua's body, they were all ecstatic. Damn it! At this moment, how could Xiao Hua not know what happened? He cried out in shock, so many fish. How can I catch all of them? Quickly go. Aoshung flew closer. With a wave of his dragon claw, he grabbed Xiao Hua in the air and shouted, quickly sit on my back. Damn it, you are the first human to sit on my dragon's back. I am a dragon destined to be an elder of the Dragon Island in the future. You will have the capital to show off in the future. Xiao Hua flew to the back of Aoshung's dragon and used his hand to grab Aoshung's dragon scales. He smiled and said, that's right. In the future, if I become an immortal, you can also proudly say that Xiao Hua, Daoist Xiao, sat on your back and escaped from the stacked jade legacy realm. Haha. Aoshung laughed loudly. Clouds gushed out from his dragon scales, and his flying speed suddenly increased. I didn't expect you to be more arrogant than me. With your cultivation, wouldn't it take you tens of thousands of years to become an immortal? At that time, I would have already become a clan elder. Then let's compete. Xiao Hua laughed and said, will I become an immortal earlier, or will your clan elder die earlier? Go. Aoshung scolded, the clan elder told me to protect you well. How can you curse him to die earlier? Moreover, didn't you see that I am being chased by so many dragon cubs? Isn't it all because of you? Hihi, then I will have to trouble you. Xiao Hua was not surprised and said indifferently. Aoshung was a little curious about Xiao Hua's calmness and asked, Xiao Hua, could it be that, you already know? Xiao Hua nodded, this Xiao has already collected a lot of dragon corpses in my universe ring. Ah! You! Aoshung's body trembled, and he almost threw Xiao Hua off his back. How many dragons did you kill? Why would I kill them? Xiao Hua replied indifferently, this Xiao is just giving them a taste of their own medicine. Aoshung was silent for a moment and laughed strangely. Haha, Xiao Hua, if I had known earlier, why would I still block for you? If not for the fear of revealing your whereabouts, I would not have been surrounded by those dragon cubs. Hihi, thank you. Xiao Hua patted Aoshung's dragon scale and laughed, when we get out, I will give you a few dragon tendons. Damn it, my dragon scale is not something to be patted casually. Aoshung pretended to be angry and said, you have to accompany me to kill a few dragon cubs. Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and laughed. What? You are a small clan elder of Dragon Island. How can you lead me, a human, to kill other dragons? If the clan elder knows, I am afraid he will punish you, right? Hihi, what do you know? Aoshung laughed. The Dragon Palace of the Four Seas has been outside Dragon Island for a long time. They are already disrespecting the orders of Dragon Island. If I teach them a lesson, how can the clan elder say anything? Moreover, I am still young. To grow up, I naturally need to eat. I heard that the dragon pearls of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas are not bad. TSK, I am already drooling. Haha, good. Xiao Hua immediately understood and nodded. You should first get rid of the dragons behind you. This Xiao will let you see this Xiao's perfect fishing technique. All right. Aoshung let out a soft roar and the light around his body shone brightly. The clouds outside the dragon scale gradually thickened and became transparent. As his flying speed increased, Aoshung's figure became blurry. Half a day later, on the side of a cliff, Aoshung flew beside Xiao Hua's transcendent's golden body like a lackey. Seeing Xiao Hua smashing a dragon to the ground with a punch, he shouted and pounced forward. Unfortunately, He was still too weak. However, as soon as he got close, he was immediately knocked to the ground by the dragon's tail. -13. Chapter 40:13. Damn it! Xiao Hua. Ao Sheng crawled up from the ground and shouted, "Hold him down, I want to eat his dragon pellet." Dragon pellet? Xiao Hua was startled. He had seen Ao Zhan and Ao Shuai's dragon pellet before, but he didn't know about the heavenly dragon speech technique, so he didn't think much about it. Now, Ao Sheng's words woke him up. The bloodline of the Absolute Saint didn't mention anything about yarrow pellets, which meant that Xiao Hua wouldn't have a yarrow pellet like the other yarrow beasts. Even the other yarrow race that Xiao Hua saw didn't have a yarrow pellet, so why would the dragon race form a dragon pellet? This seemed to be similar to the cultivation of the human race. In other words, when Xiao Hua was slightly distracted, the dragon crawled forward for a moment, then suddenly flew up, trying to escape. Ao Sheng saw this and said anxiously, "Xiao Hua, are you in cahoots with this evil dragon? Do you want to let him go?" Roar. Suddenly, the dragon vein Dharma body rushed out from the top of Xiao Hua's head and pounced on the dragon like a dark cloud. "Ayo, your Dharma body." Ao Sheng didn't seem to understand why Xiao Hua released his Dharma body at this time, but when he saw Xiao Hua and the dragon vein Dharma body working together and devouring the dragon's bloodline, he couldn't help but be stunned on the spot, and a chill rose from the bottom of his heart. The eyes that had never been afraid showed a look of terror. "Hey!" Xiao Hua stepped on the dragon that had lost its ability to fight, and turned his head in surprise. "Ao Sheng, didn't you want the dragon pellet? Why don't you come and take it?" "Zhenren Xiao." Ao Sheng was rarely honest, and his claws covered his chest, and said pitifully, You didn't devour my bloodline too, right?" "Tsk." Xiao Hua sneered, "If I wanted to devour you, I would have done it already, right? Why wait until now? Besides, wouldn't a living clan elder be more useful than a dead Ao Sheng? In my eyes, your bloodline can't even be compared to this dumb dragon." Yes, he is a dumb dragon." Ao Sheng came over with a smile and said, "You let him go just now, but he still wanted to eat you. Instead, he was eaten by you. Serves him right." Xiao Hua nodded and said, "What you said is right. What I am fishing for is precisely those dragons who want to devour my bloodline. If no one dares to provoke this Xiao will definitely not provoke them. Spiritual Master is wise, Spiritual Master is merciful." Ao Sheng flattered Xiao Hua as he took out the dragon core and happily swallowed it. Let's go, let's go, let's go." Ao Sheng shouted, "We're going fishing." Xiao Hua reminded, "Fishing is important, but the dragon jade and the dragon cleansing pool are even more important." "Spiritual Master." Ao Sheng cried bitterly, "I'm still hungry. You have to let me eat my fill, right? Besides, the dragon cleansing pool is also one of the goals of the dragon's training. If it was so easy to find, why would so many dragons come in? Where's Longyu?" Xiao Hua had thought that he was the only one who wanted to find the dragon cleansing pool, but he had not expected the dragon cleansing pool to be the target of this training. He could only ask Longyu about it. Ao Sheng looked at Xiao Hua strangely and replied, "You'll have to ask Daoist yourself. You are holding the damaged Longyu. If you don't know, how would I know?" Xiao Hua immediately understood and shouted, "Hurry up and tell me what the elders have arranged. This is my dragon race's secret technique." Ao Sheng bitterly took out a bevan and handed it to Xiao Hua. "Originally, the elders wanted me to use the Longyu to search for it. But it seems like Daoist won't give it to me. So, you should use it yourself. However, I'll say this first. In the folded Jade Legacy realm, Daoist can hold onto the Longyu. Once we leave the folded Jade Legacy realm, Daoist must give the Longyu to me. Otherwise, the 9 elders won't let you leave the Dragon Island." I understand." Xiao Hua took the bevan and released his yuanxia, looking at it while answering. "So that's how it is." Xiao Hua looked at the bevan and sneered. He looked at Ao Sheng and said, "In that case, this Longyu can only be used with draconic astronomy. And you, although you don't know draconic astronomy, can you use your draconic language and draconic chi to forcefully use the so-called pseudo-astronomy?" Heh, looks like the Great Elder had already arranged all of this. I have to listen even if I don't want to. Ao Shung's face was still bitter. He smiled and said, Daoist, you should also think about me. These arrangements were made by the elders. I can only listen to their arrangements. Moreover, you also saw that I gave the bevan to you. I actually don't like the elders' arrangements. Xiao Hua did not return the bevan to Ao Sheng. Instead, he raised his hand and said indifferently, let me see that so-called pseudo-astronomy. Ao Sheng was not surprised. He quickly took out the other bevan and said with a smile, this is the pseudo-astronomy. However, Daoist, it's useless for you to see it. You are a human, even if you have a dragon vein, you can't cultivate it. Xiao Hua took the bevan and said with a wave of his hand, fellow Daoist, I'll have to trouble you. Roar! Dragon vein Xiao Hua let out a dragon roar and swallowed the bevan. Ah! Ao Sheng was shocked as he looked at the dragon vein in disbelief. Xiao Hua's body shrank back into Xiao Hua's body as he cried out, he, what's wrong with him? Xiao Hua asked with a smile that is not a smile. Ao Sheng stuttered, your dragon vein Dharma body, he can cultivate it. Could it be? He was the one who swallowed the dragon bloodline earlier. Xiao Hua said proudly, that's right. Could it be that you think it was this Xiao who activated it? Damn it, I understand now. Ao Sheng slapped his forehead and shouted, you actually used this dragon vein Dharma body as an avatar to cultivate? Of course. Xiao Hua nodded, otherwise, why would this old man help him mold his body? Heavenly Abode River. Ao Sheng remembered, you took Heavenly Abode River's avatar technique. He, I only comprehended 20 to 30%, it's nothing. Xiao Hua looked around and said, let's find a place to let I comprehend your Dragon Island's secret technique. Of course. Ao Sheng had a flattering smile on his face. Daoist, if there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me. In just 3 to 5 days, Xiao Hua brought Ao Sheng out from a hidden valley. Then, Xiao Hua slapped his forehead and dragon vein Xiao Hua rushed into the air. He opened his mouth and let out an extremely mysterious chant. Following this chant, strange waves appeared out of thin air. Immediately, within a few li, millions of dragon chi began to vibrate. One by one, dragon patterns as thin as hair gradually appeared. Finally, these dragon patterns gathered around dragon vein Xiao Hua. Seeing this, Xiao Hua did not hesitate to take out the broken dragon jade. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. A hurricane rolled up. These dragon patterns fell into the dragon jade like a myriad of streams returning to their origin. The entire dragon jade let out a low dragon roar. Circles of ripples rippled out. Then, a phantom was born from the broken part of the dragon jade, just like the missing part of the dragon jade. Roar! Dragon vein Xiao Hua let out another low roar. A light golden dragon pattern spat out from his mouth and landed on the dragon jade. The phantom was immediately smeared with a layer of golden light. As the golden light flickered, it actually broke free from the dragon jade and flew towards a place with bared fangs and brandished claws. Let's go. Ao Sheng was overjoyed and shouted, this item can only exist for 6 hours, and this dragon drawing technique can only be used once every 10 days. All right. Xiao Hua put away the dragon jade and landed on Ao Sheng's back. Ao Sheng let out a cheerful cry and rushed into the air. Half a day later, in a stone forest covered with sharp thorns, dragon vein Xiao Hua flew in front. The dragon aura within several li rolled into a myriad of flying flowers as he flew. These flying flowers seemed to breathe into dragon vein Xiao Hua's dragon body, and then they were spat out. Layers of clouds also surrounded these flying flowers in the air. Roar! Suddenly, a silver-white huge dragon flew out from a crack in the stone. This huge dragon's movements were very fast. Dragon vein Xiao Hua had just noticed it, but the huge dragon had already pounced on dragon vein Xiao Hua. That kind of seemingly solid killing intent had already driven away the flying flowers and clouds. There was even a kind of vague spirit formation power that imprisoned dragon vein Xiao Hua's left and right. Damn it! Dragon vein Xiao Hua cursed. Knowing that he had encountered a strong opponent, he urged his dragon body and hurriedly wanted to retreat. Unfortunately, before he could turn around, The huge dragon's dragon claws had already attacked. With a crackling sound, Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's dragon body was torn apart with a several dozen meter-long wound. Oh! When the huge dragon saw Dragon Vein Xiao Hua was actually injured, it couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Then, without the slightest hesitation, it opened its mouth and sucked towards Dragon Vein Xiao Hua. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua rejoiced in his heart. He pretended to escape, but he was unable to endure. As he escaped, he flew towards the huge dragon. Just as he was about to pounce on the huge dragon, countless dragon runes flashed on the huge dragon's dragon horn. Under the resplendent brilliance, those dragon runes were like little stars as they quickly surrounded Dragon Vein Xiao Hua. At the same time, the huge dragon even roared. Its tail and claws attacked Dragon Vein Xiao Hua together. What was special was that tiny dragon runes appeared on the huge dragon's scales. Those dragon runes gathered together, like the protective golden light of Taoism cultivators. They gave birth to a kind of intense repelling force, preventing Dragon Vein Xiao Hua from invading. Crap! Dragon Vein Xiao Hua felt a warning in his heart. He no longer dared to tangle with this huge dragon. Roar! With a furious roar, the dragon's body skyrocketed. Boom! With a series of loud noises, the dragon runes that surrounded him exploded violently. The surface of Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's body was blasted into a bloody mess. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua felt pain, but he didn't dare to tangle too much. Although he cultivated the dragon transformation art and his dragon body had been tempered, he still couldn't compare with a real huge dragon. The huge dragon's dragon claws and dragon tail attacked. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's dragon body violently shook. The flying flowers that had previously landed on his dragon body all flowed out. At this moment, Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's entire body was covered in cracks, as if he had just been ravaged by this huge dragon. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Dragon Vein Xiao Hua fiercely cursed and urged, "Fellow Daoist, why are you still not coming out?" -13. Chapter 4014. Fellow Daoist, don't panic, I'm coming. Xiao Hua had long known about the crisis of Dragon Vein Xiao Hua, but he was flying far away with Ao Sheng and only arrived at this time. Xiao Hua shouted, his whole body flashing with bronze brilliance. He raised his staff and smashed it towards the giant dragon. Roar tilde I'm coming too tilde another arrogant voice also came, and Ao Sheng shook his head and wagged his tail. But he just rushed forward, and when he saw the appearance of the silver giant dragon, he couldn't help but be stunned and said, Ao Qin, Ao Sheng, you and, this human. Ao Qin saw Ao Sheng and then looked at Xiao Hua's fierceness. How could he not know what happened? He roared, I understand, you actually colluded with the human race? Your grandmother. Ao Sheng was also angry and shouted, what do you mean by colluding with the human race? If you are not greedy for the human race's bloodline, how could you? How could Ao Qin allow Ao Sheng to say more? The dragon tail slapped towards Ao Sheng and opened its mouth. Several dragon runes flew out, and streams of dragon chi entered the dragon runes. A few sword lights that were even bigger than flying swords appeared and pierced towards Ao Sheng. Xiao Hua, help me. Seeing the dragon chi sword stabbing towards him, Ao Sheng hurriedly shouted, Xiao Hua, help me. Ao Qin's dragon runes were not many, but within a few miles, the great power of imprisonment was no less than the domain. How could Xiao Hua not know that he and others had hit a nail? Now that he couldn't use most of his magical powers, he could only rely on his powerful monster body and the staff to defeat the enemy. Woo! The wishful steel staff whistled towards Ao Qin's dragon tail. Boom! With a loud bang, Ao Qin's dragon tail was flipped upside down by Xiao Hua. Even the dragon scales on the dragon tail were broken. Ao Qin was surprised and even angrier. He suddenly abandoned Ao Sheng and rushed towards Xiao Hua again. When Ao Qin turned around, Ao Sheng's dragon tail shattered the giant sword formed by the draconic carvings. However, Ao Sheng's dragon tail was also badly mutilated, causing Ao Sheng to grit his teeth in pain. His dragon body flipped a few times in the air, and under his scales, demonic clouds spurted out as he twisted his waist and tried to escape. At this moment, Ao Chin's eyes were as red as blood. His huge dragon horn produced a strange fluctuation, and the rhythm of the two fluctuations were different. They intertwined and attacked Xiao Hua. Moreover, Ao Chin's two dragon claws were more powerful than any magic treasure. They slashed through the air and instantly arrived in front of Xiao Hua's chest. Under the fluctuations, the space around Xiao Hua was extremely distorted. Waves of dragon chi were like thousands of wind blades that wanted to tear Xiao Hua's body apart. Xiao Hua didn't dare to take it head-on. A green light flashed between his eyebrows, and a layer of green seal text appeared. Although the three corpses Yin Thunder's power wasn't obvious under the suppression of the dragon chi, it only destroyed a small part of the fluctuations. More wind blades fell on Xiao Hua's body, and even more fluctuations attacked Xiao Hua's Niwen Palace, blood vessels, and other places, making Xiao Hua feel an indescribable dizziness. Then, Xiao Hua clenched his teeth and roared, "Fight!" The wishful steel staff struck out again. Boom! With a loud bang, the dragon claw knocked Xiao Hua's wishful steel staff askew. The huge force did not stop, and Xiao Hua's body was lifted into the air. To Ao Chin's surprise, Xiao Hua, who was in midair, seemed to have been smeared with oil under his feet. He drew a shadow in the air and actually borrowed the force of his blow to fly to the place where Ao Sheng was. Ao Chin was stunned and angry. He hurriedly said, "Want to leave? You stay here obediently for this old man." After saying that, the other dragon claw suddenly extended and inserted itself into Xiao Hua's back with a ka sound. However, to Ao Chin's surprise, he saw sparks flying behind Xiao Hua's back. Not only did Ao Chin's dragon claw not pierce into Xiao Hua's back, but it also sent Xiao Hua flying, pushing him onto Ao Sheng's back. Roar! Ao Chin roared, and the dragon chi within 100 miles boiled, and a fierce force of domain appeared again. Woo! Ao Sheng let out a low roar, and a rare 5-colored light appeared from his dragon horns. Wherever this light flowed, the boiling dragon aura calmed down, and Ao Sheng's body became transparent again. Looking at the dragon vein Xiao Hua, who had just escaped, he fell into Xiao Hua's mind, and quickly disappeared along with Ao Sheng's body. Damn Ao Sheng! Ao Chin's dragon claw slashed, and after knowing that Ao Sheng had used the secret technique of Dragon Island to escape, he roared, "If I see you again, I will pull out your tendons and peel off your skin. You actually dared to join hands with the human race, even Dragon Island won't say anything about it." While speaking, Ao Chin's expression changed, and he suddenly turned his head to look at the other side. With a sniff, his dragon body sank into the dragon chi and disappeared in a moment. Damn it! After half an hour, Ao Sheng, who was flying wildly in the air, finally reappeared. He looked back with lingering fear and shouted, "You scared me to death. How did I meet Ao Chin of the Southern Sea Dragon Palace? This mad dragon is really unreasonable." Of course, Xiao Hua also breathed a sigh of relief. "This Ao Chin's methods are too strange. If we didn't leave quickly, I'm afraid we would have been tortured by him to the point of begging for death." Not only that, Ao Sheng shouted, "This Ao Chin is the famous mad dragon of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. He doesn't recognize anyone. I heard that 500 years ago, a sun-devouring realm dragon accidentally offended him. Today, he chased him for 1,000,000 miles, from the Southern Sea to the Western Sea. Although many dragons came out to persuade him, they were all rejected, and in the end, he killed that dragon in the chaotic sea. Not only that, he also pulled out the tendons and skinned the dragon, cut the dragon's body into pieces and fed it to the fish." Damn it! Xiao Hua was shocked. Isn't this guy a pervert? Of course. Ao Sheng also carefully shrunk his neck. Previously in the Dragon Chi realm, I still didn't see him. However, if it wasn't for you, I'm afraid he wouldn't dare to do anything to me. Forget it, tilde Xiao Hua laughed. In the future, when we see him, we will take a detour. Can he really chase us to the edge of the stacked Jade Legacy realm? The problem is. Ao Sheng was a little worried. I don't know why Ao Chin came to the stacked Jade Legacy realm. If, Xiao Hua obviously knew that Ao Sheng didn't want him to know his purpose, so he simply didn't ask, but looked around and asked, "Where are we? Is it the wrong direction from where Long Yu pointed?" Ao Sheng rolled his eyes and retorted, "How would I know where we are? Anyway, I can still use the secret technique in the future, let's wait a few days. Okay. Xiao Hua nodded. Let's go fishing again. Better be careful. Ao Sheng patted his chest with his dragon claw. Don't meet a freak like Ao Qin again. With that, Ao Sheng carefully released his yuan sense, far from his previous unbridled appearance. Looking at Ao Sheng's frightened expression, Xiao Hua felt quite amused. Ao! Just as Xiao Hua was laughing, Ao Sheng suddenly shouted, using his dragon claw to point into the distance, "Spiritual master, quickly! There are many dragon corpses there." Is that so? Xiao Hua was also shocked, and hurriedly released his yuan sense. When he saw it clearly, he urged his body and flew towards the huge wood in the distance with Ao Sheng. This area was different from what Xiao Hua had seen before. It was all those huge round trees, tall enough to reach the sky. Each round tree was pitch black, and within the pitch black, there were strands of gold entwined. These huge trees, except for some branches at the top, didn't have any special branches. The place Ao Sheng pointed to was within the group of huge trees, which was more than 100 miles long. It was a mess. Some huge trees were broken at the waist, and sawtooth wooden thorns were like sharp swords piercing into the sky. On the ground, there were many huge trees lying on the ground, and around the huge trees, there was some meat paste and blood splattered everywhere. Dragon corpses were either on top of the huge trees, or mixed in between them. There are a total of 12 corpses. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air, stood in the air and muttered thoughtfully. Ao Sheng didn't answer, and hurriedly flew down. After carefully looking for a long time, he flew up into the air and replied, "It seems to be the North Sea and East Sea Dragon Clan. None of them are from Dragon Island. Their dragon cores were all taken away." Xiao Hua nodded. His figure descended, and he examined them one by one. After a full meal's worth of time, he sat down on a round log. Using his hand to pinch his chin, he opened his mouth and said, "It seems like they were killed by someone." "Oh, by other dragons. Why?" Ao Sheng was puzzled. "How can you tell?" "The fatal wounds of these dragons are all at the lower abdomen." Xiao Hua pointed to a huge dragon and said, "Take a look for yourself. The wound is dozens of feet long. It was obviously torn by a dragon claw." Ao Sheng was a little doubtful. After landing, he looked carefully, then looked at the others, and finally raised his own dragon claw and gestured a few times, nodded and said, "It looks a little strange. It seems to be torn by a dragon claw, but it also seems to be a little different. However, the body of my dragon clan is tough. Ordinary dragon weapons, imperial weapons, and magic treasures are not easy to break, not to mention tearing it in one strike. Only dragon claws or dragon horns have this kind of effect. Do you still remember how this old man made things difficult for you when you entered Dragon Island?" Xiao Hua looked at the dragon corpses and asked. Ao Sheng said disapprovingly, "What do you mean by making things difficult? You, a human, want to enter Dragon Island. Of course it's not that easy. However, it can be said that I have fate with Daoist." "Don't say so much." Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "This old man encountered some strange things on the way to Dragon Island." "Oh, what strange things?" When Ao Sheng heard that there was a story, he immediately became interested. Xiao Hua then told the murder that happened on the Dragon Island, and finally pointed to the dragon corpses and said, "Looking at these dragon corpses, this old man can't help but think of Dragon Island. Dragon Python and the others are anxious to come to Dragon Island. Is it related to these dragons?" "You are right." Ao Sheng replied seriously. "Fourth Elder didn't say much about Dragon Python, but I also heard some rumors. It seems to be related to the Gui clan. In my opinion, these dragons should be killed by the Gui clan." -13. Chapter 40:15. But the problem is. Xiao Hua glanced at Ao Sheng and asked faintly, "And escaped from Dragon Island with Long Yu, and there were even dragons who brought Long Yu into the Stacking Jade Legacy realm. For what? This?" Ao Sheng was still a little hesitant. He waved his hand and said, "This is my Dragon Island secret. It's better if you don't know." "Why?" Xiao Hua asked curiously. "Now that things have come to this, you still remember the Elder's instructions?" "Yes." Ao Sheng sighed. "If it was someone else, I might have said it, but in front of you, I don't dare to say it casually. That's strange. Could it be because of my dragon vein Dharma body? Xiao Hua wanted to get to the bottom of it. Ao Sheng smiled. This is naturally one of the reasons, but it's not the most important. Strange, what's the most important thing? Daoist is a little greedy. Ao Sheng smiled. I'm afraid that if I say it, you will think too much. Haha, you're right. Xiao Hua laughed and waved his hand. Wherever his mind went, whether it was the giant wood or the dragon's corpse, they all fell into his space. What's more, Xiao Hua actually raised the wishful staff, but in a moment, dozens of giant wood had been taken into Xiao Hua's space. No way, Daoist. Ao Sheng opened his mouth and asked, what do you want these wood for? To build a thunder boat. Xiao Hua didn't hide it and replied, wait until I build it, you will know. Alas, I can't compare to your Dragon Island. Dragon Island has everything, and there is also a group of dragons to show their filial piety. Naturally, I don't need to think too much. I started from scratch, so I have to worry about everything myself. After dozens of days, Xiao Hua didn't know fatigue as he searched for the rare giant wood in the world, and Ao Sheng's voice sounded from time to time on the increasingly rare giant wood. Daoist, it's about time, right? We came to the stacking jade legacy realm to gain experience, not for you to cut wood. Besides, you should leave some memories for the future generations. You can't not leave a single giant wood. All right. Xiao Hua straightened up, clapped his hands, looked at the few remaining giant wood, raised his hand and patted his forehead, smiled. Fellow Daoist can come out now. Roar. Dragon vein Xiao Hua roared and flew out. The dragon body that was torn apart by Ao Qin had also recovered. Then, Xiao Hua took out the dragon jade. Dragon vein Xiao Hua activated the secret technique and found the location of the incomplete dragon jade. Ao Sheng shouted and carried Xiao Hua to a place in the Forgotten Realm. This trip was still alright. Although he fished up a few more dragons, he did not meet a freak like Ao Qin. On this day, when he saw a golden sea in front of him, Long Yu's dragon figure dove into the sea and disappeared. Ah! After a few breaths, Ao Sheng's figure appeared in the ripples of space. Looking at this strange situation, he cried out, How is this possible? When did the seawater appear in the stacked jade legacy realm? Could it be that the seawater was connected to the outside of Dragon Island? The Gui clan has already sent Long Yu out of the Dragon Island? Xiao Hua looked at Ao Sheng's appearance and said extremely puzzled, What? Was there no seawater in the stacked jade legacy realm? Isn't your Dragon Island in the sea? You don't know. Ao Sheng stomped his feet, swung his dragon tail, and rushed into the sea. He even shouted, Dragon Island can be in the sea, but the stacked jade legacy realm can't have seawater. As for why, I don't know either. You don't have to ask me. Xiao Hua smiled, looked at the rolling waves on the sea and said, There was no seawater in the past, but it doesn't mean that there isn't now, and it doesn't mean that there won't be in the future. TSK. Ao Sheng flew for a few hundred li, but did not see any reefs. He shouted, Damn it, could it be that the incomplete dragon jade is in the sea? With that, Ao Sheng lowered his head and was about to dive into the sea. Ao Sheng. Xiao Hua's gaze swept across the sea, and he was shocked. A layer of goosebumps uncontrollably appeared on the surface of his body as he shouted loudly. What's wrong? Ao Sheng listened to Xiao Hua's words and hurriedly stopped in midair. You! Xiao Hua pointed at the sea and said in shock, Look at the sea, there was a dragon face inside. Ah! When Ao Sheng heard this, his dragon body also trembled. He looked at the sea in disbelief. However, the sea was still turbulent. Where could he see a dragon face? Although Ao Sheng did not say anything, he was secretly alert. His dragon body did not dare to delay and flew towards the sky. As he flew, he said in a low voice, Spiritual Master, what did you find just now? Sure, don't talk first. Xiao Hua hurriedly said, This sea is a bit strange, let's fly out of the sea first. All right. Ao Sheng urged his dragon chi and flew straight towards the shore. However, after flying for half an hour, the promised shore did not appear. Even Ao Sheng's heart began to tremble. Just when you were about to rush into the sea, Xiao Hua's voice sounded in Ao Sheng's ear, A huge dragon face with a strange smile opened its mouth and waited for you to fall. Ao. Ao Sheng wailed like a ghost and almost knocked Xiao Hua off his back. He said anxiously, "Spiritual master, if you want to speak, can you speak louder? You will scare the dragon to death if you speak like this." Xiao Hua said solemnly, "I just want to tell you, don't waste your energy. This sea is an illusion. If you can't break it, even if you die of exhaustion, you won't be able to fly out." "I already knew it was an illusion," Ao Sheng said angrily. "I don't need you to remind me. Now the problem is how to break this illusion. I'm flying like this. I just want to see how to fly out." Xiao Hua stood on the dragon's back and looked at the seemingly endless sea. He smiled bitterly and said, "If this Xiao's magic power was still here, this illusion would not be able to stop this Xiao. Isn't it just escaping? I'm afraid that no illusion in this world can trap this Xiao. The problem is that spiritual master's magic power can't be used, right?" Ao Sheng said snappily. "Could it be that other than magic power, spiritual master has no other way? Don't you humans have the best brains?" Xiao Hua smiled and replied, "If it was any other array, this Xiao would have to think about how to break it, but this is an illusion array. Ao Sheng, I'll let you see what this Xiao is capable of." As he spoke, Xiao Hua flew up from Ao Sheng's back and slapped his forehead. Catcher! A faint green lightning flashed, and the delirium breaker eye flashed with a silver brilliance and slowly opened. Sigh! In the delirium breaker eye, strands of golden light filled the entire space. However, in this golden light, there was another dragon that was tens of thousands of miles long that coiled below Xiao Hua and Ao Sheng. The huge dragon head was there, with a big mouth and a sneer on its face. On the dragon head, at the edge of the two dragon horns, there was a small red dragon horn that was extremely eye-catching. Wasn't that the dragon face that Xiao Hua picked up on the sea? Ao Sheng, do you know which Gui race has a third small dragon horn on their head? Xiao Hua's delirium breaker eye flashed, silver like stars in his eyes. Xiao Hua calmly asked Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng was shocked and shouted, Ao Jiao. Are you talking about Ao Jiao? How would I know if it's Ao Jiao? Xiao Hua replied indifferently, I'm only asking you if you know such a dragon race. Of course I know. Ao Sheng said with a trembling voice, Ao Jiao is one of the Gui race that brought Long Yu into the folded jade legacy realm. Could it be? After so many years, he still hasn't died. He actually set up an illusion array here? If it's Ao Jiao, then it's right. Hearing that, Xiao Hua's heart relaxed slightly. He stared at the sea and replied, I'm afraid Ao Jiao is already dead, but his soul is still here. Perhaps only the soul can exist in this passage of time, and this illusion is probably created by Ao Jiao's soul. I know. Ao Sheng shouted, this is my Dragon Island's Li Hen heavenly technique. Damn it, this Ao Jiao is really vicious and merciless. This Li Hen heavenly technique has always been my Dragon Island's forbidden technique. I don't know how many years have passed, but no dragon race has been able to cultivate it. Even the profound armor pentagonal divine dragon keeps a respectful distance from this forbidden technique. Ao Jiao is really crazy. Of course he's not crazy. Xiao Hua seemed to have understood something and said in a low voice, he's trapped in this folded jade legacy realm. What can he do in the face of the passage of time? Other than using a secret technique to cultivate into a soul, what hope does he have to survive? In this illusion, I'm afraid there are many lost dragons. Their blood essence has become the supplement of the Li Hen heavenly technique. Li Hen heavenly technique, heavenly remorse, endless regret into the sea, endless hatred into the heavens. Ao Sheng scratched his ears and cheeks and shouted, if this Li Hen heavenly technique is successfully cultivated, you can use Li Hen heavenly technique. If you don't have a great ability, you can't break it. This Ao Jiao originally had the strength of Tun Ri. How can the Li Hen heavenly that he set up be broken by us? Moreover, don't forget that the current Li Hen heavenly technique is Ao Jiao himself. I really don't know how to break this illusion array. H, what do you know? Xiao Hua sneered, you're doted on by Dragon Island. You haven't gone through any experience. Who says I haven't gone through any experience? Ao Sheng shouted as if his tail had been stepped on. The size of my dragon island is not something you can understand. I've been to all those dangerous places. Hey, you're wrong. Xiao Hua smiled and looked at the soul of Ao Jiao, who was waiting for him at his feet. The most difficult experience is not on Dragon Island, but on the 3 continent. Do you know why Confucian cultivators have to establish a country in hidden immortal continent before they reach the 5th grade of elemental energy? That's not only to test the art of ruling a country, but also to test the human heart. Moreover, it's the same for us Dao cultivators. We also have to go out to gain experience. Without experiencing the mortal world, you won't know what is called cunning, danger, flattery, and waiting. Waiting? Ao Sheng was slightly stunned. What kind of experience is this? -13. Chapter 40:16. For his own survival, for the sake of exterminating the other dragons on Dragon Island, Ao Jiao had to wait. He waited for 1,000,000 years, 10,000,000 years, and finally, he waited for you, the purest dragon bloodline. Perhaps. Speaking up to hear, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something and stopped. Ao Sheng replied indifferently, "What wait, isn't it just patience? I can do it too, you don't know, when I was training on Dragon Island, in order to wait for an opportunity, I hid among the reefs and waited for 3 whole years." That's not right. Xiao Hua muttered, since Ao Jiao is still in the form of a soul, and there's still the dragon cleansing pool in this stacked jade legacy realm, why didn't he remodel his body? How would I know? Ao Sheng was a little uncomfortable. His eyes turned and looked in another direction. Looking at Ao Sheng's appearance, Xiao Hua seemed to have understood something. He said coldly, "Could it be? This is still your Dragon Palace's 9th Elder's scheme?" Sigh, I don't know what those old fellows are thinking, Ao Sheng sighed, but what I know is, I have never heard of a dragon's soul being able to remodel his body in the dragon cleansing pool. Boom. As if a bolt of lightning struck Xiao Hua, he said in disbelief, "How is that possible? It's said that your Dragon Island has a dragon cleansing pool that can remodel one's body. That's the Buddhist sect's lotus cleansing pool, okay?" Ao Sheng muttered, "It has nothing to do with my Dragon Island. However, since someone is spreading the news for my Dragon Clan, why wouldn't my Dragon Clan do it? Oh, of course, it's not that my dragon cleansing pool can't remodel one's body. It's just that until now, no one knows how to remodel one's body. I was tricked by a bunch of old farts again." Xiao Hua gnashed his teeth and said. Ao Sheng shrugged his shoulders strangely and said with a smile, "Think about it, didn't you say everything about Dragon Palace? What did the elders say? Didn't they just follow your words? It's your wishful thinking that my dragon cleansing pool can remodel one's body. My elders also admitted it, but they didn't say how to remodel one's body. You have to rely on yourself for all the opportunities. Forget it." At this point, Xiao Hua was too lazy to argue with those old farts of Dragon Island. He had to deal with the predicament in front of him first. Seeing that Xiao Hua didn't ask about the Dragon Palace, Ao Sheng also wiped his cold sweat. It was impossible that he didn't know of Dragon Palace's Dragon Palace's Dragon Palace of Dragon Palace. But Ao Sheng of Dragons Dragon Island, Dragon of Dragon of him. Of Ao, Dragon Islands, Dragon, of Dragons of Dragons of Dragon Dragons of Dragon of Dragon, of course, of Dragon Dragon. However, the development of the situation was beyond Ao Sheng's expectations. Xiao Hua's dragon bloodline Dharma body not only had its own primordial spirit, but it could also absorb the dragon chi of other dragon tribes. Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body was even stronger than the dragon tribes. Xiao Hua and the dragon bloodline Dharma body were no match for Ao Sheng, but how could Xiao Hua and the dragon bloodline Dharma body be separated? Ao Sheng had completely become Xiao Hua's follower in a folded jade. He even got a share of the loot when Xiao Hua attacked the dragon clan. In particular, now that he had accidentally fallen into Lihan Heaven, which was set up by Ao Jiao, Ao Sheng knew very well that it was absolutely impossible for him to escape from Lihan Heaven. He could only rely on Xiao Hua. If Xiao Hua turned against him, he would be the first to die. Yes, immortal. It was rare for Ao Sheng to lower his proud head and smile. What do you think we should do now? Xiao Huaji glanced at Ao Sheng and replied indifferently, didn't I tell you just now? Wait. Yes, wait is patience. Ao Sheng hurriedly replied, but, can we compete with Ao Jiao's patience? Even if we can't, we still have to compete. Only in this way can we have a chance to find a flaw in Lihan Heaven and get out. Xiao Hua thought for a moment, raised his hand and pointed in a direction. You fly there, I will fly to the opposite side, let's see how Ao Jiao will deal with it. Immortal. Ao Sheng cried bitterly, you won't leave me, a little dragon, to face an old dragon that has lived for millions of years, will you? Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and replied, do you think I am that kind of person? No, definitely not. Ao Sheng hurriedly smiled. Not like. That means, yes? Xiao Hua asked with a smile that wasn't a smile. Ao Sheng didn't want to answer anymore. He hurriedly urged his dragon body and shouted, yes, I will fly there now. Well, remember, don't let the sea water touch your dragon body. Xiao Hua saw this and also flew to another place. He didn't forget to remind him. Okay. Ao Sheng heard Xiao Hua's reminder. His originally low heart immediately came to life, and his dragon body flew 100 feet away. As Xiao Hua flew, he still opened his delusion breaker Dharma eye to observe Ao Jiao's soul. The dragon head that was very clear in the delusion breaker Dharma eye was slightly blurred, and actually split into two dragon heads. One of them carried a body and rushed in the direction of Ao Sheng. Its speed was 3 times faster than Ao Sheng, and the other one followed closely behind. Xiao Hua couldn't help but think to himself, ordinary souls will not leave any trace in my delusion breaker Dharma eye. That is to say, this Ao Jiao either used the Lihan Heaven technique or the fragments of the dragon realm to cultivate her soul to another level. This level is probably beyond the reach of Little White Dragon. The most troublesome thing is that the soul cultivator Xiao Hua is now heavily injured and can't come out to fight the enemy. If the soul technique is useful, I can only rely on myself. However, fortunately, I have some gains in the Forbidden Spring Sea. Although I have not comprehended the vast sea of soul technique, it can still be of some use at the critical moment. Xiao Hua was thinking and flying. The huge dragon head also followed under Xiao Hua's body. It was more patient than Xiao Hua. After flying for a while, the distance between Ao Sheng and him had already exceeded the distance when they entered Lihan Heaven, but the scene in front of Xiao Hua's eyes did not change at all. Xiao Hua understood that this simple distance extension would not give Ao Jiao any pressure, and it was even more impossible to find a flaw in Lihan Heaven. What should I do? Xiao Hua pinched his chin. The delusion breaker Dharma eye looked at the ferocious dragon head, and the dragon eyes that seemed to be mocking him, thinking about the next step. Roar! At this moment, in the direction where Ao Sheng was, a huge wave was formed, and the sea water rolled up, forming the shape of a dragon, and pounced on Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng was shocked, and with a long roar, his dragon body suddenly rose up, trying to avoid the wave. However, Ao Sheng only flew out 1,000 feet, and in mid-air, there was a flash of light, and layers of water ripples. Like a mirror, another sea surface was hanging upside down above Ao Sheng's head. Ao Sheng rushed into the air, and was about to fall into this new sea surface, and in this sea surface, Ao Jiao's 3 dragon horns revealed a ferocious smile without hiding it. Xiao Hua saw that there was a change where Ao Sheng was, and just as he was about to turn back, woo-woo. Layers of strange wind whistled from under his feet and above his head, and with the sound of the wind, the soul of Ao Jiao, who had been hiding under the sea, suddenly rose up and pounced on Xiao Hua. Moreover, as the wind whistled into the sky, the dragon patterns gradually condensed into water splashes, and these splashes connected together, and a seemingly endless water surface was formed again, and under the water surface, Ao Jiao's figure also appear. Xiao Hua's delusion breaker Dharma eye had not been closed, and when he saw the faint golden lines fly out from Ao Jiao's soul, and a weak and blurry dragon shape condensed above his head, he already understood that this must be a secret technique similar to the ghost cultivator's inextricable threads. Therefore, without any hesitation, Xiao Hua's delusion breaker Dharma eye flashed with a dark green brilliance, and the technique of lightning and thunder suddenly came out. Rumble. What puzzled Xiao Hua was that the soul technique that did not have any effect before was now somewhat recovered in the illusion of Lihan heaven. As the thunder roared, not only did it disperse the dragon patterns above Xiao Hua's head, it also destroyed the soul strands that were gathering. However, Xiao Hua's technique of lightning and thunder was still controlled by the illusion of Lihan heaven, and the sea water was destroyed a little, but the rest roared, like the anger of Ao Jiao, and rushed towards Xiao Hua. Seeing that the soul technique was effective, Xiao Hua hurriedly urged the soul strands, and a net-like dark green seal text flew out. Although the green seal text was very vague, it was obvious that Xiao Hua had just comprehended it, but as soon as the green seal text came out, the strange sound appeared again, and layers of small whirlpools appeared out of thin air in front of the sea water. ZZZT. A violent sound rang out within a radius of several miles, and more than half of the dragon-shaped sea water controlled by Ao Jiao was destroyed again, and only about 20% of the sea water passed through Xiao Hua's defense and rushed to Xiao Hua's feet. Xiao Hua's flying technique with the demon body was naturally not comparable to Ao Sheng's, and in a hurry, he could not dodge. As soon as the sea water touched the surface of Xiao Hua's body, it immediately turned into a thin red color, and quickly spread along Xiao Hua's legs. The strands of red color were like tiny poisonous snakes, and in a moment, they had completely covered Xiao Hua's legs. Chimpage. Xiao Hua coldly snorted, and a cluster of soul strands fell. Swoosh. Like rain washing sand, all the strands were destroyed in an instant. However, at the same time, there were still some red lights flashing between the lines on Xiao Hua's skin, and it seemed like they wanted to penetrate, but as the bronze brilliance around Xiao Hua's body rippled, the remaining red color also disappeared without a trace. Roar! The soul that was destroyed by the soul technique seemed to have caused Ao Jiao's pain, and a dragon roar that shook Xiao Hua to the point of dizziness came from the sea water. A dragon head that was thousands of feet long surged out from the sea water, and the dragon head that was condensed from the dark green sea water was like a real dragon, exuding an indescribable dragon's might. Even as strong as Xiao Hua was, his heart could not help but tremble, and a sense of powerlessness arose spontaneously. -13. Chapter 4017. Looking further away, Ao Sheng was about to crash into the reflection of the blue sea in the sky. Fortunately, he was quick to react. With a turn of his dragon body, he flew horizontally and stopped his upward momentum. However, Ao Jiao had already made her move. Even if Ao Sheng was temporarily out of danger, what could he do? Just as Xiao Hua was channeling his soul technique to defend against Ao Jiao, two water dragons flew out from the blue sea in the sky. They both looked like Ao Jiao and attacked Ao Sheng from both sides. What was more special was that Lihan heaven was originally an illusion created by Ao Jiao's soul. Now, between the two water dragons, there was another kind of seal that trapped Ao Sheng like a giant hand. While Ao Sheng was panicking, the dragon horn on top of his head shone like a crystal. This light was first restrained and Ao Sheng's golden dragon horn was suddenly transparent. Strands of blood could be seen. Then, a drop of golden dragon blood oozed out from the dragon horn. As soon as this drop of dragon blood came out, the dragon chi within 1,000 miles suddenly shrank and rushed towards the dragon blood. Woo woo! The wind was so strong that it seemed like it was going to tear the entire Lihan heaven apart. Even the two water dragons were cut into countless pieces by the hurricane. Of course, just as the pieces were formed, the water light in the water dragons flowed and the cracks disappeared. The water dragons still surrounded Ao Sheng. The dragon blood flowed into the dragon chi and emitted a strange fluctuation. Then, the dragon blood exploded with a bang. Thousands of dragon runes wriggled in the dragon blood and protected Ao Sheng's dragon body in a few breaths of time. A layer of blood-red dragon armor was formed. Hee hee. The two water dragons sneered at the same time. Real blood armor. Ha ha, real blood armor. I didn't expect your blood to be so pure. The heavens are really helping me. Little kid, come over here. As they spoke, the two water dragons rushed towards Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng was shocked. Dragon runes rushed out from the scales all over his body, like countless flying swords dancing, trying to stop the water dragons from getting closer. Boom boom boom. The flying swords fell into the water dragons. Although the water dragons were full of holes, Ao Jiao's ecstasy did not diminish. The water dragons also healed instantly, and in less than half a cup of tea's time, they were already in front of Ao Sheng. Roar! Ao Sheng roared. His dragon claws slashed through the air. A sharp cold light flashed and the two water dragons were cut in half. Ao Sheng's dragon tail then cut the two water dragons into 4 halves. Ha ha! Ao Jiao laughed, his voice roaring within 1,000 miles. In my Lihan heaven, even Ao Jiao would be at my mercy, let alone a little kid like you. With this voice, the space around the water dragons inexplicably produced thousands of water silks. The water silks fell into the water dragons, and the two water dragons were as good as new again. They were still rushing towards Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng opened his mouth and spat out a cloud of dragon breath. Several dragon runes also flew out, but the dragon runes flashed in the air for a moment and quickly dimmed. It seemed that the dragon clan's magic could not be used in Lihan heaven. Damn it! Ao Sheng cursed. His body shone again. This shimmering light began to rotate with Ao Sheng's body. Layers of void cracks appeared around Ao Sheng, forcing the water dragons to retreat. Woo! The ear-piercing sound of water once again soared into the air. The water dragon instantly grew several times in size, and then fearlessly dove into the crack in the void. Sizzle. Nearly 70% of the water dragon was swallowed by the crack in the void, but the remaining 30% passed through the crack and condensed again near Ao Sheng's body. Once the water dragons were condensed, they immediately rushed towards Ao Sheng's body to kill him. Roar! Although Ao Sheng's real blood-bright armor emitted a blood-red color and blocked the fatal attack of the water dragons, the bright armor creaked as it was twisted by the water dragons. Ao Sheng, who was inside, let out a heart-wrenching scream. However, Ao Sheng also knew that he was definitely no match for Ao Jiao. If he wanted to live, he could only rely on Xiao Hua. Therefore, even though dragon blood was seeping out of his body, he still ignored the water dragon's greediness and flew towards Xiao Hua with all his might. The danger that Xiao Hua faced was even greater than Ao Sheng's. The huge dragon head emitted a dragon's aura and rushed towards Xiao Hua. The power was like a giant peak, and before it even got close, Xiao Hua's body was already shaking from the impact. Xiao Hua hurriedly retreated, and the green seal script appeared again between his eyebrows. The mysterious sigh sounded again, and within hundreds of miles, red clouds covered the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and waves of rain poured down like a torrential downpour. This. Ao Jiao was shocked. The falling dragon head stopped there, and an incredulous expression appeared on its transparent face. And with the washing of the rain, the dragon head that was originally condensed from seawater actually had mottled marks. The marks became bigger and bigger, like boiling water falling into a snowball, gradually melting. Hey! Xiao Hua sneered, sure enough, there is seawater in Lihan heaven, but in fact, it is all your soul. If I take out rainwater out of thin air, I'm afraid it will be completely opposite to your seawater. Ha ha! Human race, oh human race, you are indeed smart. But, where did you get the rainwater? Do you think this old man will give you a chance? Ao Jiao laughed loudly. Seeing that half of the huge dragon head had disappeared, the remaining dragon head suddenly opened its mouth, roar. A wave visible to the naked eye rushed into the sky, and wherever the wave passed, it was like a giant hand, wiping away all the red clouds. Xiao Hua's art of clouds and rain was broken by Ao Jiao just like that. Damn it! Xiao Hua thought to himself, this Ao Jiao's art of Lihan heaven seems to be similar to a soul technique, and his soul is incomparably tough, comparable to Ao Sheng's dragon body. It is not a big deal that my soul technique was broken by him. But, if that is the case, how can I use the art of clouds and rain? This is really troublesome. Xiao Hua pondered in his heart, but his movements were not slow. Just as Ao Jiao's fluctuations calmed down, Xiao Hua slapped his forehead with his right hand. Wang, wang. A violent rumbling sound was produced, and a dark green brilliance flashed, and a soul sword completely surrounded by soul threads flew out. This soul sword was not visible to the naked eye, but Ao Jiao could see it clearly. Ah! With a loud cry, Ao Jiao's dragon head suddenly dived, wanting to hide in the so-called sea, but the soul sword was like lightning. Ao Jiao had just descended 100 feet when the soul sword had already pierced Ao Jiao's dragon head. A strange space twisted, and there was a burst of horrifying wailing and howling. One could even see traces of Sanskrit appearing, and the soul sword fiercely rushed into the dragon head. Moreover, the soul sword's momentum did not stop, and it continued to pierce more than 1,000 feet. Wherever the soul sword passed, Ao Jiao's soul turned into nothingness. Alas, what a pity! Xiao Hua was happy at first, but when he saw that the soul sword had already pierced more than 1,000 feet, he saw that only a small part of Ao Jiao's huge dragon body was destroyed, and at the bottom of the dragon body was separated from the sea. Xiao Hua also understood that he had only killed a wisp of Ao Jiao's soul, and it was impossible to completely destroy Ao Jiao. Wang. The soul sword's momentum was extinguished, and it stopped inside Ao Jiao's soul. The remaining soul began to counterattack, and the soul sword let out a roar. Xiao Hua's mysterious dark clouds also surged, and an indescribable pain appeared in his mind. Not good. Xiao Hua had long known the shortcoming of the soul sword, so he had never used it easily. Today, he had no choice but to use it. He had only killed a dragon's soul, and it had already caused discomfort in his soul. He immediately felt a warning in his heart. Looking at Ao Jiao again, how could she not know Xiao Hua's misgivings? Between the evil grins, the previously severed connection was restored. That soul once again danced, preparing to devour Xiao Hua's soul sword. Facing such a powerful Ao Jiao, Xiao Hua's mind raced. Then, his soul strands trembled, and fell into the mysterious dark clouds. He grabbed Little White Dragon and dragged him out. Roar! Little White Dragon was suddenly dragged out, and it did not understand the situation at all. However, when it saw a kind of dragon's might that could suppress it to the point that it could not breathe, how could it not know that Xiao Hua was in danger? Little White roared without hesitation, and its figure flew out, pouncing towards Ao Jiao's soul. Ao Jiao was somewhat caught off guard, and Little White Dragon pounced on her soul. It opened its big mouth and tore at her soul, and that dragon's claws grabbed onto her soul, tearing it apart. Whoosh! Seeing that Ao Jiao's soul was destroyed by Little White Dragon, Xiao Hua took the opportunity to retrieve his soul sword. Hey! West Sea Fire Dragon Soul? Which West Sea Dragon King's soul are you? When Ao Jiao saw Little White Dragon, he immediately felt the terrifying Fire Dragon Soul's aura within his soul, and could not help but cry out. Why would Little White Dragon answer him? He sneered and said, "Since you know that I am the West Sea Dragon King, why don't you quickly bow down and surrender? Haha, little dragon, you indeed have the aura of a Dragon King, but your bloodline is different from my Four Seas dragon race. Although it looks noble, it is not a pure dragon bloodline. How can a little dragon like you be the West Sea Dragon King?" Ao Jiao seemed to be in a good mood as he laughed heartily and said, "There's a little kid with an incomparably pure bloodline from the Dragon Island over there who gave me a bloodline, and you, an unknown little dragon, gave me a dragon soul. I really don't know how I should thank you all." Tempate. Xiao Hua heard from afar, and sneered, "There is no need for this. This Xiao will give you dragon vein energy. Let's see if you have the fortune to enjoy it." While speaking, Xiao Hua slapped his forehead, and dragon vein Xiao Hua rushed out of his body, transforming into a dragon form and pouncing towards Ao Jiao's soul. Hiss! When Ao Jiao saw dragon vein Xiao Hua, his heart could not help but tremble in the face of dragon vein Xiao Hua's rock-solid dragon chi. As a soul, he could understand the power of dragon vein Xiao Hua's dragon chi better than those dragons with dragon bodies. Swish! Without waiting for dragon vein Xiao Hua to get close, a loud sound of water rang out, and a dragon head that was several times larger than before once again emerged from the surface of the sea. The dragon head's mouth was wide open, and at the 3 dragon horns, the scarlet dragon horns flashed a scarlet red, illuminating the entire dragon head in red. This scarlet dragon head's dragon might was even stronger, far surpassing the previous one. Waves of dragon chi condensed in the surroundings, and actually gave birth to a magic treasure like jade. -13. Chapter 4018. Ao Jiao's means were not limited to this. With a series of splashing sounds, 2 more dragon heads flew out of the sea, one to replenish the soul that was previously torn apart by Little White Dragon, and the other to roll towards Xiao Hua. It's really tricky. Xiao Hua looked at Ao Sheng flying in the distance, almost strangled by Ao Jiao's soul. He hurriedly urged the heavenly law embodiment technique, took out the wishful steel staff again, and waved it to rescue Ao Sheng. Rumble. Although the wishful steel staff was not the real wishful steel staff and could not completely break away from the 5 elements, Ao Jiao's soul could still be killed by it. The wishful steel staff struck down, and Ao Jiao's soul was beaten until it was dim, and Xiao Hua was much closer to Ao Sheng. Woo woo woo. Just as Xiao Hua was flying, the wind blew and the clouds shook in the space behind him. The weather changed drastically. The dragon vein Xiao Hua and Ao Jiao's scarlet-red soul clashed. The draconic chi collided, causing the space within 1,000 miles to become chaotic. Looking at Little White, it was even more powerful. Dragon roars resounded and claw shadows appeared one after another. Little White tore the soul that had just been born into pieces in just a moment. Moreover, Little White opened its mouth and devoured the soul fragments. If it was under normal circumstances, Little White Dragon would have already won. Unfortunately, this was Lihan Heaven, and Ao Jiao had been sacrificial refining Lihan Heaven for who knows how many days, and his soul was almost infinite. Roar! There were a few more sounds, and 3 more souls came out one after another, and rushed towards Little White Dragon from 3 different places. Poof! The wishful steel staff stabbed deeply into the head of one of Ao Jiao's soul, and the soul dimmed and dissipated, falling into the sea. Looking at these fragments, Xiao Hua's heart suddenly moved, and his mind sank into the mysterious cloud, and the soul cultivator Xiao Hua was pulled out of it. Roar! Xiao Hua roared and stirred the wishful steel staff. The soul cultivator Xiao Hua took the opportunity to draw these floating soul fragments into his body. Ao Sheng had already flown close, and he seemed to be a little exhausted. The 2 water dragons had twisted Ao Sheng's dragon body into a fried dough twist, and if it were not for Xiao Hua, Ao Sheng would have been killed by Ao Jiao. At this time, when Ao Sheng saw Xiao Hua, he was more affectionate than when he saw the elders of the Dragon Hall, and shouted loudly, "Zhenren Xiao, save me. Don't worry. This old man is coming." Xiao Hua released his secret attack and shouted anxiously. His body expanded to 100 zhong as he flew towards Ao Sheng. But right at this moment, cold laughter resounded from the space around Xiao Hua, and then 3 strands of Ao Jiao's soul transformed into water dragons that flew out from the spatial rift and obstructed Xiao Hua's path. Not waiting for Xiao Hua to wave the wishful staff, the 3 separated souls surrounded Xiao Hua and swam towards Xiao Hua. Damn it! What should we do? Xiao Hua slightly opened his delusion breaker Dharma eyes and saw that although the huge dragon head was staring at Little White Dragon and dragon vein Xiao Hua under his feet, the dragon head was no different from before. In other words, Xiao Hua's hard work for such a long time did not cause any substantial harm to Ao Jiao. Xiao Hua, on the other hand, was in the same place as these 3 soul splits. He was complaining even more in his heart. These 3 divided souls were much more powerful than the previous ones. His wishful staff was no longer as weak as before. In the time it took to eat a meal, Xiao Hua had killed 3 divided souls. However, at the same time, 3 more divided souls were born. Little White Dragon killed 5 divided souls, but at the same time, 5 divided souls were still fighting with Little White Dragon. Only dragon vein Xiao Hua's opponent was still the red dragon head. Although the dragon head was bitten to a pulp, dragon vein Xiao Hua's dragon body also began to be damaged. As for Ao Sheng, he was in the most dangerous situation at this time. He could no longer fly. 2 divided souls were tightly entangling him, and the true blood-bright armor on the surface of his body was damaged. Roar! Seeing that Ao Sheng was in danger and that Xiao Hua could not arrive in time, Ao Sheng hurriedly roared again. He opened his mouth and a fist-sized golden light flew out. Inside the golden light was a thumb-sized dragon crown. Purple dragon crown? Ao Jiao found that the dragon face instantly appeared under Ao Sheng's feet. Looking at the dragon crown, she cried out in surprise, those damn Dragon Island, they actually gave you the purple dragon crown. They are really biased. As she spoke, the purple dragon crown had already landed between Ao Shung's dragon horns. A layer of brilliant, dazzling light purple dragon pattern appeared from the purple dragon crown, turning into a dragon robe that covered Ao Shung's dragon body. Wherever the dragon robe went, Ao Jiao's two divided souls screamed and turned into ashes. Even the wounds on Ao Shung's dragon body were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Roar! Ao Shung roared with joy. His dragon body twisted and the purple dragon crown overflowed with thousands of soaring dragon shapes. These dragon shapes brushed past Lihan Heaven, and the area that Ao Jiao imprisoned was broken. A path to the sky had already appeared in front of Ao Shung. Ao Shung moved his body, but only flew a few hundred feet before stopping again. This seemingly spoiled little dragon actually leaped and flew towards Xiao Hua. It seemed that he wanted to take Xiao Hua with him. Damn it! Ao Jiao's violent voice came from all directions. Huge heads appeared in the area that Ao Shung had rushed out from. So what if you have the purple dragon crown? I may not be able to kill you now, but I have trapped you for 1,000,000 years. However, this old man has trapped you for over 1,000,000 years. Once this old man refines the purple dragon crown, you will still be my prey. Hiss. Ao Shung took a breath and turned his head to look at the place that he wanted to fly out from. Were there not a few divided souls waiting for him to fall into their mouths? Damn it, this Ao Jiao is too powerful. Ao Shung felt a sense of powerlessness. If I didn't turn around to save Zhenren Xiao, I'm afraid I would have been trapped by him. He's not even afraid of the purple dragon crown? This folded jade legacy realm is indeed a fragment of the dragon realm. Only by cultivating in such a fragment of the dragon realm can one surpass the control of the purple dragon crown. Zhenren. Ao Shung landed beside Xiao Hua. The dragon robe around him overflowed and wanted to bring Xiao Hua into it. However, Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body was now quite repelling the dragon chi of the purple dragon crown. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed. The silver-white eyes of the delusion breaker eye flashed ruthlessly. After a moment, Xiao Hua said, Ao Shung, is there any flaw in this Lihan Heaven? Or, as far as you know, is there any way to break it? Ao Shung almost cried out, Zhenren, if there was any way to break it, I would have told you. In this Lihan Heaven, unless your cultivation is higher than Ao Jiao's, or you have a way to completely destroy Ao Jiao's soul, what other way is there? Don't you see? Ao Jiao has merged his soul with Lihan Heaven. He can transform into as many souls as he wants. His soul can appear anywhere in Lihan Heaven. Zhenren can't find his real soul. Of course, if Zhenren has the means to find it, that's another story. However, even if Zhenren finds it, how can Zhenren compare with this old man's soul? Damn it, why am I so unlucky? To destroy Ao Jiao's soul, I may not be able to do it, but to find Ao Jiao's soul, I naturally have a way. Xiao Hua thought for a moment. He looked at Ao Jiao's soul, which was afraid of Ao Shung's purple dragon crown, and then looked at the dozens of water dragons surrounding the little white dragon and the dragon vein Xiao Hua. They entangled the two together like how they entangled Ao Shung. Both the little white dragon and the dragon vein Xiao Hua were trapped and unable to move. Xiao Hua said faintly, however, Ao Shung, you have to swear that you will not say a word about what you saw today. Otherwise. Of course, of course. Ao Shung was overjoyed and shouted, I can swear to the dragon ancestor that I will never say a word about what I saw today. If I say a word, let me never find my beloved concubine. Boom. A sudden clap of thunder came out of nowhere, and a dragon-shaped phantom appeared in the thunder, giving Ao Shung a fright. He looked at the phantom in disbelief, and his face was filled with astonishment. Make a proper dragon oath. Xiao Hua looked at the shadow with boundless dragon might and said, this is a fragment of the dragon realm. Your dragon oath will be taken away by the dragon ancestor. This dragon oath is also the foundation to protect your little life. All right. Ao Shung clenched his teeth and a drop of dragon blood flew out. Ao Shung chanted in the dragon language, dragon ancestor above, this little dragon Ao Shung makes a dragon oath that I will never say a word about what happened today. No matter what the dragon race interrogates me, I will not say a word. If I say a word, I will immediately be stripped of my dragon blood by the dragon ancestor. I will fall into the mortal Tao and never be reincarnated. Roar! The dragon blood boiled and turned into a line of blood that fell into the dragon-shaped phantom. The dragon-shaped phantom lit up as if it was the finishing touch, and then it rushed into the void and disappeared. All right. Xiao Hua nodded and ordered, "Stay away from me. The divine ability that I am about to use is not something that I can control. Of course, if I am unable to kill Ao Jiao, Ao Sheng, you can take advantage of the chaos to escape." Ao Sheng opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but seeing Xiao Hua's solemn expression, he did not dare to say anything and moved away. Just as Ao Sheng left, woo! The wind howled and countless water dragons with the same dragon head rushed out. Like vines, they trapped Xiao Hua's transcendent's golden body. As the water dragons attacked, Xiao Hua's demon body showed signs of collapsing. This showed how powerful Ao Jiao was. Now, all of Lihan heaven was filled with towering pillars of water. Each pillar of water was a part of Ao Jiao's soul. It was like a ghostly cultivator, and as Ao Sheng said, Xiao Hua would not be able to escape from Lihan heaven if he could not kill all of them at once. Wang Wang. Xiao Hua did not care about the strangulation of Ao Jiao's soul at all. He patted his forehead and there was a buzzing sound. A silver light pillar the size of a fist appeared from the delirium breaker eye. With a loud bang, it rushed into the sea below him. Woo woo. As soon as the light pillar touched the sea, it immediately created a silver vortex. This silver vortex rotated extremely fast and the silver color covered the sea like lightning. -13. Chapter 4019. Swish, swish, swish. As the silver color dyed the dozens of water dragons that were entangling Xiao Hua, the little white dragon, and the dragon bloodline Xiao Hua, these water dragons first lost the appearance of Ao Jiao, and then disappeared into thin air. Even in a moment, all the water pillars fell on the surface of the water, and they no longer looked as arrogant as before. However, the entire sea surface of Lihan heaven still existed and did not completely disappear. Damn it, what kind of supernatural power is this? Under the silver light pillar, within the vortex, Ao Jiao's face appeared. His face was full of surprise, but there was little fear. You can actually pin this old man's soul? However, how long do you think this supernatural power of yours can pin this old man? As he spoke, Ao Jiao's face began to distort. The vortex under the light pillar also began to reverse, and the silver color that was previously all over the sea surface gradually retreated. Even in Xiao Hua's delusion breaker Dharma eye, the silver eyes began to flicker. Even the delusion breaker Dharma eye could not control Ao Jiao's supernatural power. Just at that moment, an angry roar came from Xiao Hua's mouth. Shortly after, Xiao Hua abruptly raised his left hand. Woo! A pitch-black light flashed and the moan of an ancient demonic creature was heard. Along with that moan, the bronze light around Xiao Hua's body instantly disappeared and was replaced by pitch-black flames and crimson blood. The flames were even darker than the demonic flames from before. It was like a sparkling and translucent crystal. In particular, there were tens of thousands of tiny threads, and within those threads were countless malevolent demonic creatures that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, wanting to pounce out. With the birth of the flame and the crimson color, a demon armor appeared on the surface of Xiao Hua's body. This demon armor was also filled with crimson and demons, and a kind of power that could swallow the heavens and the earth continuously gushed out. Not only that, at this moment, around Xiao Hua's body, a layer of several inches of space had been burned out by the dense flames. This space was collapsing at an extremely fast speed, and not a single ray of light was able to escape. One after another, indescribable demonic creatures flowed out from within the space. These demonic creatures flowed into a hexagonal region behind the demon god Xiao Hua's head, and then flowed out from within the hexagonal region. At this moment, the hexagonal region was merely an outline, but that outline distorted the nearby space, making it impossible for the naked eye to see through it. You. Ao Jiao did not know what to say in the face of such a strange change. His soul had survived in the fragment of the dragon realm for so long, and this was the first time that absolute fear appeared in his heart. The aura emitted by this terrifying flame was not inferior to the dragon chi in the realm of the folded jade. Ao Jiao looked at the demon god Xiao Hua's face that was covered by a layer of demon armor. The two blood-red eyes were filled with bloodlust, and complemented the ruthlessness of the silver-white eyes. Ao Jiao's heart panicked, and hurriedly wanted to abandon the silver-white pillar of light and escape, but the silver-white pillar of light was like a nail that nailed Ao Jiao's soul. No matter how Ao Jiao moved, he could not break free. Who? The demon god Xiao Hua did not give Ao Jiao any chance to struggle. With a wave of his left hand, the demon blade appeared, and the entire Lihan heaven's celestial phenomenon changed. From the void around the demon god Xiao Hua's body, countless tiny black threads flew out. These black threads carried with them a thick flame and crimson color, and instantly covered the entire Lihan heaven. Even Ao Sheng, who was far away, was surrounded. Poor Ao Sheng was like a child who had a nightmare. He tightly curled into a ball, and looked at the demon god Xiao Hua in horror. The demon god's murderous aura seemed to be able to strangle Ao Sheng at any time. He also finally understood why Xiao Hua must make him swear a dragon oath. Damn it! Ao Jiao cursed angrily. Purple chi appeared at the dragon's head. As soon as this purple chi appeared, the dragon's head instantly shrank. However, this purple chi actually held up the pillar of light of the delirium breaker Dharma Eye, and the dragon's head took the opportunity to escape. Even when the dragon's head just left the vortex controlled by the silver-white pillar of light, it immediately divided into countless tiny dragon souls, and swam in all directions. The demon god Xiao Hua saw it clearly through the delirium breaker Dharma Eye. The demon blade in his left hand chopped down, and a faint black light flashed. Not only was Ao Jiao's soul split in half, but the endless dragon souls that were born were also split in half. However, the strange thing was that after all the souls were split, they only paused for a moment. Then, ha 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 ha. Big and small laughter could not be suppressed in the whole Lihan heaven. All the souls were active again. Even Ao Jiao's main soul was split into two, twisting arrogantly. Woo woo. Just when Ao Jiao felt that she had escaped the fatal blow of the demon blade and wanted to counterattack again, the demon blade roared and turned into a demon dragon. It rushed out from Xiao Hua's hand and flew towards one of Ao Jiao's main souls. At the same time, at the edge of all the souls that were split by the demon blade, strands of black silk appeared strangely. With the appearance of these black silk, the demon flames that were previously all over Lihan heaven suddenly turned into hundreds of millions of demons, madly pouncing on Ao Jiao's soul and the seemingly endless sea. The soul cultivator Xiao Hua that Xiao Hua had sent to the sea surface earlier, now also quietly appeared. Just like an ear-piercing sound, it was attached to another soul of Ao Jiao. The soul cultivator Xiao Hua's soul silk was even denser than the black silk and wrapped around Ao Jiao's main soul. The soul silk tore and devoured the soul strands. The image of the soul cultivator Xiao Hua was becoming clearer little by little. Roar! Half of Ao Jiao's main soul was fighting with the demon dragon. The other half roared madly, resisting the demon formed by the black silk and the soul cultivator Xiao Hua. In the distance, little white dragon and dragon vein Xiao Hua roared at the same time. They separately pounced over and attacked the other half of Ao Jiao's main soul. Ao Jiao's Lihan heaven was formed by her soul. In this kind of illusion that was comparable to an enchantment, Ao Jiao was almost invincible, not to mention being killed by others. Any trace of his soul could be turned into the future Ao Jiao. This was similar to the ghost cultivator Huang Yi's inextricable links on that day. Moreover, Ao Jiao cultivated Lihan heaven in this fragment of the dragon realm. It was far more advanced than the dragon chi of the Dragon Island. Even if the ninth elder of the Dragon Island came, he may not be able to escape from this Lihan heaven, let alone kill Ao Jiao's soul. However, he was unlucky to encounter Xiao Hua. The demon god Xiao Hua's blood drop paradise had undergone the tempering of the fluctuations in the blood pool of the gods and devils. It had already undergone a qualitative improvement. Moreover, The demon blade had suppressed countless demons. These demons were the incarnations of the demon dragon, which was just enough to restrain Ao Jiao's thousands of divided souls. Now, even if Ao Jiao wanted to split a trace of her soul to escape, it was not realistic. Roar! Demon god Xiao Hua saw that they were evenly matched. He roared and pounced forward. With a wave of his hands, a not-so-successful blood drop paradise trapped the other half of Ao Jiao's main soul. Layers of black flames and layers of blood light alternately burned and attacked. The soul was cut off piece by piece. The whole world was fighting, endless devouring. The demon chi chased after the soul, and the soul fought against the demon chi. In the demon chi, Ao Sheng looked at the distant demon dragon and demon god Xiao Hua enviously as they devoured Ao Jiao's soul. To be able to cultivate Lihan Heaven's soul, how could ordinary souls compare? It was rare in the world. If he used the secret technique of the dragon clan to devour some, it would definitely be of immeasurable value to Ao Sheng's future cultivation. Unfortunately, Ao Sheng did not dare to get close. When the demonic saber was waved, the saber's blade also stopped in front of Ao Sheng for a moment. Although he was protected by the purple dragon crown, Ao Sheng could already smell the blood in the demonic saber's blade. The incomparably pure blood in his body froze at that moment. He was afraid that Xiao Hua had forgotten that he had already made a dragon oath. Fortunately, the demon blade flashed away, and Ao Sheng felt that he had returned to the human world from the underworld. Therefore, he now only hoped that Xiao Hua could devour Ao Jiao's soul, so that he could get rid of this feeling of fear. Unfortunately, things did not always go according to one's wishes, even if it was a small elder of the Dragon Island. The devouring of the entire Lihan Heaven lasted for dozens of days. The battle within was not known to outsiders. Ao Sheng himself was in Lihan Heaven and did not know the specific situation. He only saw that the demon chi in the space was either rich or thin, and the sea blue color was also changing with the thinness of the demon chi. However, in the end, the demon dragon devoured half of Ao Jiao's main soul, rushed to the left hand of the demon god Xiao Hua and disappeared. The entire Lihan Heaven was completely filled with demon chi. Roar! As the demon god Xiao Hua roared to the sky, all the demon chi rapidly rolled back like thousands of streams returning to the origin, and disappeared into the blood-red armor of the demon god Xiao Hua. When the armor slowly disappeared into the surface of Xiao Hua's body, the soul cultivator Xiao Hua, who seemed to be nearly 100 feet tall, flashed into the mysterious dark clouds in the demon chi. The little white dragon and the dragon vein Xiao Hua also shook their heads and wagged their tails, and returned very comfortably. In the end, the demon god Xiao Hua withdrew the blood drop cave, revealing a plain thousands of miles in size. The endless dragon chi set off a gust of wind from all directions, blowing the dust into the air. Ah! The demon god Xiao Hua groaned in a low voice. All the demon chi and the demon armor disappeared, and Xiao Hua's body also shrank. Pa! Xiao Hua fell out of the sky, smashing into a huge rock on the ground. Zhenren Xiao. Ao Sheng was like a fish in water, wantonly for a moment in the dragon chi. Seeing Xiao Hua's body fall, he flew closer for a moment in fear, but then he looked into the distance again, as if thinking about something. However, in just a few breaths, he made the wisest choice. He flew in front of Xiao Hua and said anxiously, Zhenren Xiao, yes. Following Ao Sheng's call, Xiao Hua opened his eyes. A touch of blood mixed with a wisp of cold light flashed in Xiao Hua's eyes. Even Ao Sheng's heart skipped a beat, and his dragon body trembled slightly. Xiao Hua stood up, closed his eyes for a moment, and sighed, alas. I am a little further away from the mortal world. Zhenren Xiao's cultivation has increased again? Ao Sheng said with a flattering smile, then I must congratulate Zhenren Xiao. What cultivation? Xiao Hua shook his head. Although this Xiao's demonic secret technique is extremely powerful, I do not dare to use it lightly. Because every time I use it, some of my emotions will be taken away. Over time, this Xiao will become a demonic creature that only knows how to kill. At that time, under that blade, although I can kill Ao Jiao immediately, you will also be killed by this Xiao. -13. Chapter 40-20. Yes, 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 it's better if Daoist doesn't use such a powerful secret technique. Ao Sheng shrunk his neck and smiled. At the same time, I also thank Daoist for sacrificing himself to save me. Xiao Hua looked coldly at Ao Sheng, as if he still hadn't escaped from the devil's realm, and said, "You only need to remember your dragon oath, don't say anything else." Yes, yes, Xiaolong understands. Ao Sheng replied obediently. Then, Xiao Hua took out a yin-yang bracelet and handed it to Ao Sheng, saying, "Go, collect all the stones here." Stones? What does Daoist want them for? Ao Sheng was a little confused. Xiao Hua didn't answer. He also took out a yin-yang pouch, flew towards a place, and used his body and mind to collect the stones. All right. Ao Sheng heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Xiao Hua starting to collect the boulders and reverting back to his greedy self. He looked at the seemingly endless plains and released his essence force to collect the boulders as well. After collecting all the stones, Ao Sheng returned the yin-yang bracelet to Xiao Hua and probed, "Daoist, do you have news of Long Yu?" "Not only do I have news of Long Yu, I also have news of the Crystal Dragon scripture." Xiao Hua looked at Ao Sheng and replied with a smile that wasn't a smile. Ao Sheng's body shook, and he hurriedly asked, "Then, where is the Crystal Dragon scripture? Don't you think you should tell me the use of the Crystal Dragon scripture first?" Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and chuckled. Ao Sheng sighed and said with a smile, "Daoist, don't tease me. Since Daoist has already swallowed Ao Jiao's soul, how can you not know the use of the Crystal Dragon scripture?" "You're wrong." Xiao Hua replied, "Ao Jiao doesn't know the use of the Crystal Dragon scripture, it's also not here." "Where is the Crystal Dragon scripture?" Ao Sheng asked. "Tell me first, what is the use of the Crystal Dragon scripture?" Ao Sheng smiled bitterly, "Daoist Xiao, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but I don't know what the Crystal Dragon scripture is for. The elders only told me that the Crystal Dragon scripture was brought into the stacked Jade Legacy realm with Long Yu and other things. If you find Long Yu, you can find the Crystal Dragon scripture. I really don't know anything else." Xiao Hua stared at Ao Sheng for a moment, and Ao Sheng didn't dare to shift his gaze away. After a moment, Xiao Hua nodded and said, "This old man will believe you. Since the Crystal Dragon scripture was taken by Ao Yi and separated from the Dragon Jade, the Crystal Dragon scripture must be extremely important." Ao Yi. When Ao Sheng heard this name, he was even more scared than if he had seen a ghost. He exclaimed, He can't be alive too. Damn it, no, he can't have also cultivated Lihan Heaven, right?" Xiao Hua shrugged, shook his head and said, "I don't know about this." There was no more information in Ao Jiao's memory. However, it seems like only Ao Jiao has this hatred heavenly skill. Ao Yi doesn't. How is this possible? Ao Sheng exclaimed. Ao Yi is the patriarch of the Ji clan and the 10th elder of the Dragon Hall. How could he not have it? However, after Ao Sheng finished speaking, he immediately covered his mouth as he realized that he had revealed something. As if he didn't hear anything, Xiao Hua flew up and searched around with his Yuan Shen. Ao Sheng hurriedly flew up. He didn't dare to disturb Xiao Hua and only followed closely behind. After half a day, they came to an extremely ordinary place. Xiao Hua squinted his eyes and looked around. After thinking for a moment, he raised his hand and pointed. "Come here, use your dragon breath to perform the soaring dragon technique." "All right." Ao Sheng didn't dare to delay. He flew over, opened his mouth and spat out a dragon breath. Then, ripples appeared around his dragon horn and the dragon breath turned into a faint dragon in the ripples. "Go!" Following Ao Sheng's soft command, the dragon rushed to the sky like a cloud. However, just as it rushed out a few feet, a strange barrier blocked the dragon. The dragon's body paused for a moment and actually drilled into the barrier. Roar! A strange sound came from inside the barrier. An invisible wisp of Ao Jiao's soul flew out from the barrier and seemed to be trying to escape. Before Ao Sheng could do anything, the delusion breaker Dharma eye in Xiao Hua's forehead opened again. The silver-white light beam fell on the place where the dragon disappeared. The wisp of Ao Jiao's soul flew around fiercely, but in the end, it couldn't escape the control of the light beam. As the light beam stirred, It fell into it and disappeared in an instant. Following the disappearance of the last wisp of Ao Jiao's soul, swoosh. As if a layer of color was cut off from the sky, Long Yu's head appeared in the sky. This Long Yu's dragon head looked very ordinary, similar to the one in Xiao Hua's space. In between the dragon head's eyebrows, there was a strange rune. It was somewhat different from the dragon rune, but it was also somewhat similar in shape. It looked very eye-catching. Ao Sheng only saw Long Yu's shadow, he didn't even see the rune clearly. Xiao Hua's mind rolled and Long Yu's head fell into his space. Daoist. Ao Sheng hesitated for a moment and mumbled, "You must remember what you said earlier. After leaving the stacked Jade Legacy Realm, you must give Long Yu to me. Otherwise, I won't be able to report back. Can't you use the Crystal Dragon Seal?" Xiao Hua smiled and said, "If it wasn't for this old man, I'm afraid you would have lost your life here." "Ari, that's right." Ao Sheng sighed and said, "I also think so. Of course, I know the truth of the matter, but the elders don't think so. They wholeheartedly want to take Long Yu and the Crystal Dragon Seal back. Unless Daoist wants to fall out with my Dragon Island, otherwise, there is nothing to discuss. However, I feel that Daoist's future is limitless. There is no need to provoke Dragon Island now. Hee hee." Xiao Hua looked at Ao Sheng and said, "This old man was somewhat negligent. I should have let you make a bigger dragon oath earlier." Looking at Xiao Hua's gaze, Ao Sheng felt his hair stand on end. He hurriedly said with a smile, "Of course, I will also talk to the elders and ask them to give Daoist some more time to comprehend." Xiao Hua nodded and asked again, "The time in the stacked Jade Legacy Realm is somewhat different from Dragon Island, right?" Although when the stacked Jade Legacy Realm opens, the time here will tend to be the same as Dragon Island. However, the time here will ultimately be faster than Dragon Island. I have been waiting here for dozens of days. Maybe only dozens of days have passed on Dragon Island. Ao Sheng explained, and when the stacked Jade Legacy Realm closes, the time here will accelerate again. Xiao Hua squinted his eyes and asked probingly, "If this old man comprehends the Dragon Jade in the stacked Jade Legacy Realm, will it take less time than on Dragon Island?" When Ao Sheng heard, he couldn't help but complain in his heart. However, he didn't dare to hesitate and hurriedly said with a smile, "Daoist, for our training this time, other than the Dragon Jade, the most important thing is the Crystal Dragon Scripture. Since you are here comprehending the Dragon Jade, what should we do with the Crystal Dragon Scripture?" Haha. Xiao Hua laughed loudly and said, "Ao Sheng, this old man's goal is the Dragon Jade. What is the Crystal Dragon Scripture? What does it do? This old man never knew about it. Daoist, you can't be like this, right? Ao Sheng, other than you, do the other dragons on Dragon Island also have a mission to find the Crystal Dragon Scripture?" "Yes, the 9 clans of Dragon Island, each clan will send 20 dragons to specifically search for the Crystal Dragon Scripture." Ao Sheng no longer concealed and nodded his head as he answered. "Isn't that the case?" Xiao Hua smiled, "Other than you, there are still 179 dragons looking for the Crystal Dragon Scripture. One more you doesn't count, one less you don't count. Why don't you cultivate here with this old man?" Ao Sheng thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "Daoist Xiao, if you don't want to search for the Crystal Dragon Scripture, that's fine too. Can you tell me where the Crystal Dragon Scripture is?" "I'm going to search for the Crystal Dragon Scripture." Xiao Hua looked at Ao Sheng's helpless expression and advised, "Actually, Ao Jiao only knows that Ao Qin went to a place called Deeper Yuan. Furthermore, the scenery in this stacked Jade Legacy Realm will change at any time. It has been so many years, who knows where Deeper Yuan is? Of course, if you know, you can go by yourself." "Deeper Yuan?" Ao Sheng frowned and said, "I have heard of this name before. It seems to be a dangerous place in the stacked Jade Legacy Realm. Since Daoist doesn't want to go, then I will go and search for it first. If I can find it, then I will turn back. At that time, I hope that Daoist can help me." What does Daoist think? The current Ao Sheng seemed to have matured a lot. He was extremely different from the Ao Sheng that Xiao Hua saw at the edge of Dragon Island. Xiao Hua looked at Ao Sheng and then looked around. He nodded and said, "All right. You and I will each take half a step back. You go and search for that deeper UN. I will meditate here. If you find it, you can come back and look for me. However, I am afraid that the scenery in the stacked Jade Legacy realm will change again soon. You have to hurry over before it changes. Many thanks for Daoist's help. Ao Shung smiled and said, as for the problem of returning, hehe, this is not something that Daoist needs to worry about. My Dragon Island knows about the various changes in the stacked Jade Legacy realm and already have countermeasures. Even if Daoist went somewhere else, I will still be able to find Daoist. Hehe, looks like you've already prepared for this. Xiao Hua replied meaningfully. Ao Sheng naturally understood Xiao Hua's meaning. Xiao Hua was saying that he could easily find deeper UN. He didn't say anything more. He swayed his dragon tail and flew into the air. He nodded towards Xiao Hua and flew towards a direction. After Ao Sheng flew far away, Xiao Hua released his yuan sense. After seeing that there was nothing strange in the surroundings, he flew to a hidden place and used the wishful rod to dig a small cave. He drilled in and sealed the cave with crushed stones. After sitting down cross-legged, his mind hastily entered the space. In the space, the complete dragon jade had already fused into one and turned into a sparkling and translucent dragon shape. This dragon shape had a multicolored luster overflowing. A kind of holiness was faintly born from the dragon's head. This holiness was so bizarre. It seemed to be different from everything in Dragon Island. Xiao Hua squinted his eyes and looked at the jade archive for a moment. He raised his hand and pointed at the strange rune on the dragon jade. Roar! An extremely loud dragon roar came from the rune. Then, an extremely powerful dragon might gushed out from the dragon jade, as if it wanted to kill Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua was not anxious at all. He raised his hand and grabbed slightly. The space where the dragon jade was located was immediately sealed. All the dragon might disappeared without a trace. -13. Chapter 4021. Hey! This is strange. After Jade Archive Xiao Hua looked at the dragon jade, he noticed that the dragon jade had calmed down. There was no change, and the complete dragon transformation art did not appear. He could not help but be surprised. Previously, I could easily see the dragon transformation art. Why is it not possible this time? Oh, could it be that it also needs dragon blood? Jade Archive Xiao Hua pondered for a moment. He raised his hand and took out a drop of dragon blood from the dragon's corpse that was previously stored in the space. The drop of dragon blood fell into the rune. The rune melted and decomposed in the dragon blood. In the end, tens of thousands of dragon runes gushed out from the dragon blood like a swarm of ants falling into the dragon jade. Then, the entire Longyu shone with a five-colored brilliance. Halos of light wrapped around the Longyu's body, and like a bamboo, the Longyu was divided into 6 parts. When the brilliance began to calm down, Jade Archive Xiao Hua raised his hand and pointed a finger at the tail of the dragon jade. Buzz! The dragon jade issued a rumbling sound. More dragon runes than before turned into strands of crystal light and fell into Jade Archive Xiao Hua's hand. Moreover, as the number of crystal light increased, Jade Archive Xiao Hua's figure gradually changed. In the end, it also turned into the image of a huge dragon. However, this huge dragon's eyes were tightly closed. A halo appeared on its scales, resonating with the flickering of the dragon jade. After an unknown amount of time, the dragon shape shook and Jade Archive Xiao Hua's figure appeared within the dragon shape. Longyu's halo also retracted. The runes that had disappeared appeared once again as the light rushed into the dragon head. Hee. Jade Archive Xiao Hua opened his eyes. There was a trace of ecstasy on his face. No wonder Ao Jiao wanted to take this dragon jade away from Dragon Island. This dragon jade actually concealed a mystery. Not only does it have the dragon transformation art that I wanted, it also has the inheritance of Dragon Island's heavenly dragon language technique. This is strange. This heavenly dragon language technique, why didn't it pass down through the bloodline of the dragon clan? Why did it pass down through this dragon jade? Moreover, this dragon transformation art is actually not a secret technique for demon beasts to cultivate into dragons. In the Inheritance of Dragon Island's Dragon Clan, there is a method to mold the body in the dragon cleansing pool. However, since this method can mold the body, it can also be used to temper the body. Especially for demon beasts like Little White Dragon, whose original form is a python, it can use the dragon transformation art to cultivate and evolve into a dragon. As such, it became the so-called dragon transformation art. Ao Jiao only has the first half of Long Yu's body. Without the complete dragonization incantation, it's impossible for him to reconstruct his body in the dragon cleansing pool. Damn it, so the dragon cleansing pool wasn't what I thought it would be. The Little White Dragon's body would be molded as soon as it entered. However, Little White Dragon was already able to transform from a python into a dragon, completing all 9 levels of the dragonization incantation. Now, all that's left is just a few crucial parts. He only needs to cultivate a little more. Thinking of this, Jade Archive Xiao Hua flashed into the mysterious dark clouds. Seeing Jade Archive Xiao Hua appear, the Little White Dragon hurriedly asked, "Xiao Hua, where are you now? I feel that the draconic energy here is too dense. What's up with the soul that you and I devoured? My soul seems to be undergoing some inexplicable changes. This is the Dragon Island's stacked Jade Legacy realm." The Jade Archive Xiao Hua explained the ins and outs of the matter. The dragon cleansing pool that can remodel your body is here. However, if you want to remodel your body, you must first cultivate the complete dragonization art. Of course. The Little White Dragon smiled and said, "Isn't my dragonization art complete?" Speaking of this, the Little White Dragon came to a realization. Could it be, my dragonization art isn't complete? I still can't remodel my body. What should I do? The dragon race can't be compared to our human race. Similarly, it can't be compared to your original body. Jade Archive Xiao Hua explained, the dragon body is very mysterious. Not only can it absorb the power of the stars and moon, it can also absorb draconic energy. The dragon race even has the heavenly dragon technique. Therefore, the remodel of the dragon body isn't as simple as we thought. It requires a special method to successfully remodel it. And this method is the dragonization art. Oh! Xiao Hua, could it be that you found the last piece of the dragon jade? The Little White Dragon finally understood and said in surprise. Hehe, that's right. Jade Archive Xiao Hua extended his index finger, and like a cold star, it landed between the Little White Dragon's eyebrows. It was also the place where the rune of the dragon jade was located. Boom! The Little White Dragon felt one rune after another rushing into his mind. He didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly coiled his body to carefully comprehend it. Jade Archive Xiao Hua withdrew his index finger and looked at the Little White Dragon's soul. He nodded slightly and looked at Soul Cultivator Xiao Hua inside the Soul Formation sky. At this time, Soul Cultivator Xiao Hua looked a little strange. His whole body was several times bigger than before. In addition to his original appearance, there were also scales on his skin. These scales were faintly discernible, and there were also thousands of dragon patterns. Above Soul Cultivator Xiao Hua's closed eyes, there were even 2 phantoms that looked like dragon horns. Hehe, it seems that eating too much dragon soul also has its disadvantages. I'm afraid this dragon image won't disappear in a short time. Jade Archive Xiao Hua smiled and flashed out of the mysterious cloud. He shouted, "Where is fellow Daoist Dragon Bloodline? Many thanks, fellow Daoist." Dragon Bloodline Xiao Hua's figure appeared, his face filled with ecstasy. "I have a place to cultivate in the future. This dragon jade not only has the dragon transformation art, but also so many heavenly dragon technique and other dragon clan techniques. This time, we have really hit the jackpot. Hee, fellow Daoist should quickly comprehend the dragon transformation art." Jade Archive Xiao Hua smiled proudly. If there is a chance, fellow Daoist should also follow the Little White Dragon's body molding. Okay. Dragon Bloodline Xiao Hua agreed and his figure disappeared. Jade Archive Xiao Hua returned to the space and instructed the green-robed Xiao Hua a few words. He was preparing to help the green-robed Xiao Hua comprehend the dragon transformation secret art with him. Suddenly, Jade Archive. Xiao Hua's expression changed and he immediately escaped from the space. Woo! Outside the space, inside the stacked Jade Heritage Realm, the wind howled like a tiger. Another round of scenery began to change. Xiao Hua's figure swayed along with the cave in the air. Really troublesome. Xiao Hua stabilized his figure and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Xiao has just adapted to the appearance of the stacked Jade Heritage Realm, and now I have to start again. Who knows what the scenery will be like after this? At this time, the gravel in front of the cave had already been blown away by the wind without a trace. Xiao Hua hid in the cave and looked at the scenery outside that was as gorgeous as a layer of dusk. Inside, not only were there mountain ridges shifting, there were also many dragons struggling. After several hours, the changes in the scenery began to slow down. Boom! Xiao Hua's figure shook and the mountain range also fell. It's finally over. Xiao Hua smiled. Now I can cultivate in peace for a while. Unfortunately, just as Xiao Hua closed his eyes, woo-woo. Outside the cave, the sound of wind rose again. Then, with a loud boom, something hit the mountain range not far from Xiao Hua. In these several hours, there were indeed many things that collided with the mountain range, but this time was different. A low groan sounded from that place, and then, a spiritual sense similar to an elemental thought swept through the cave and landed on Xiao Hua's body. Huh! A faint human voice sounded in Xiao Hua's ear. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. At this time, it was already too late for him to hide anything. After thinking for a while, he simply walked out of the cave and looked up. The scenery outside the cave had completely changed. A tall man with a full beard was wearing armor and holding a long spear in his hand. He was standing on top of a mountain rock not far away in astonishment. This man's armor was already abnormally damaged. There were many bloodstains on the armor, and there was even a bloody wound on the man's neck. Xiao Hua, Daoist Master Xiao? When the man saw Xiao Hua, he recognized him at a glance and asked curiously, "Why are you hiding in the cave?" He. Xiao Hua smiled and said, "This stacked Jade Heritage Realm is full of slaughter, and this Xiao's Dharma body is the delicious food of those dragons. This Xiao is not a descendant of the dragons. Coming to this stacked Jade Heritage Realm to train is just a coincidence, and I don't plan to gain anything from this training. Therefore, this Xiao simply found a place to hide, and when the time comes to train, I'll just follow you out. So that's how it is." When the man heard this, he said somewhat enviously, "Daoist Master's calm heart actually makes this one jealous. This one risked my life to enter the Dragon Island to train, just to obtain some of the ancient dragon's legacy. Now that I'm in the stacked Jade Heritage Realm, I clearly know that I'm the prey of others, but I can't help but be greedy for some things. Oh, Daoist Master Xiao, this one is Jing Province's Ao Fengping. Previously, I saw Daoist Master in the Dragon Chi territory. Oh, so it's Jing Province's Daoist Ao." Xiao Hua cupped his hands and said with a smile, "This one wishes Daoist Ao victory in advance, and success on the spot." When Ao Fengping heard this, he hurriedly waved his hand. He lowered his head to look at his appearance, and said with a bitter smile, "Daoist Master must be joking. Look at this one's sorry state. Just now, this one was sneak attacked by a cunning dragon. If it wasn't for this change in scenery, I'm afraid I would have already fallen into the dragon's stomach. But now, even if this one dodged the sneak attack, his injuries are quite heavy." Millimeter, Xiao Hua nodded, "Since it's like this, Daoist Ao can heal his injuries here. This one can protect Daoist Ao. When Ao Fengping heard this, his eyebrows raised in joy, and he said with a smile, "Then I'll have to trouble Daoist Master." As he spoke, Ao Fengping took out a box of medicine from his bosom and consumed it. Immediately, clouds gushed out from his body, and wisps of awe-inspiring aura inexplicably gushed out, covering the surface of Ao Fengping's body. This is actually a bit strange. Seeing that Ao Fengping was actually able to use the Confucian cultivation technique in the stacked Jade Heritage Realm, Xiao Hua was a bit bewildered. How can he use the Confucian cultivation technique? After a full 2 hours, Ao Fengping finally withdrew his true qi, and then took out another set of armor to change into. "Alright, Daoist Ao." Xiao Hua cupped his hands again, "Since your injuries have already healed, this one will return to hide. Daoist Master. Ao Fengping hurriedly said, this one has something to say, but I don't know if I should say it or not. If Ao Sheng had said so, Xiao Hua would have directly replied with since you don't know, then don't say it. But looking at Ao Fengping's sincerity, and thinking that they were both in the stacked jade heritage realm, he still nodded and said, Daoist Ao, please speak. This one is all ears. -13. Chapter 4022. Daoist Master Xiao, I want to say two things. Ao Fengping softly said, first, the stacked jade legacy realm is not like the other places on Dragon Island. This is a fragment of the dragon domain, there are countless treasures inside. If Daoist Master can find one, it will definitely have a significant effect on your future cultivation. Daoist Master entered the legacy realm and actually hid in this mountain range to cultivate. Isn't this the so-called entering a treasure mountain and returning empty-handed? If Daoist Master regrets in the future, you won't have this kind of opportunity again. Then what about the second? Xiao Hua asked thoughtfully. Second, in this stacked jade legacy realm, our human cultivators have become food for the dragons. Daoist Master's cultivation is extraordinary. How can you watch so many humans being eaten by the dragons? Daoist Master is a cultivator of the Dao sect. If you don't take this opportunity to form a relationship with the descendants of the dragons, when will you? The descendants of the dragons are also a force that can't be ignored in the hidden immortal continent. In the future, in fact, there is no need to wait for the future. Daoist Master's current strength is already intolerable by the immortal palace. If Daoist Master doesn't want to be killed by the immortal palace, forming a relationship with the descendants of the dragons is a bright path. If I form a good relationship with Dragon Island, wouldn't it be more beneficial for me to fight against the immortal palace? Xiao Hua asked back. Daoist Master is looking down on Dragon Island too much. Ao Fengping laughed. Dragon Island has always only cared about the dragons of the 9 clans on the island. They don't even care about the dragon palace of the 4 seas, let alone us descendants of the dragons. As for forming a relationship with Daoist Master, it is only a joke in their eyes. That day when Daoist Master revealed his dragon body in the Dragon Chi realm, they thought of using Daoist Master. This kind of scheme, Daoist Master doesn't know. Then what does fellow immortal Ao mean? Xiao Hua asked with a smile that was not a smile. Ao Fengping replied, I have made an appointment with some fellow immortal to go to a certain place in the legacy realm. If Daoist Master can, please follow me. With my strength, I'm afraid I can't reach there safely. With Daoist Master's help, I have confidence. Oh, you actually know the place in the stacked jade legacy realm? Xiao Hua was a bit surprised. And you have a relationship with some fellow immortal? Could it be that you have already planned it? Ao Fengping smiled proudly. Since we are descendants of the dragons, we naturally have our secret. The stacked jadeite legacy realm is the most important part of the Dragon Island. We naturally know some of the secrets inside. Don't worry, Daoist Master. We're all cultivators of the human race. There's something vital to the cultivation of the human race there. If Daoist Master can help us, we definitely won't disappoint you. Can you tell this Xiao what it is and where it is? Xiao Hua probed. Ao Fengping hesitated for a moment. Then, he shook his head and said, this. I'm afraid I can't casually tell you this. When Xiao Hua heard this, he shook his head even more. Then why would I go? The dragon chi here is very rich. Even if this Xiao casually cultivates a bit, it will still be stronger than outside. This Xiao will not do things that I have no confidence in. All right. Ao Fengping thought for a moment and said, I can tell you the name of that place, but I can't tell you what it is. Xiao Hua asked, where? Deeper Yuan. Ao Fengping immediately replied. Xiao Hua's body shook violently. He swept a glance at Ao Fengping and asked curiously, why did you go to that place? Oh, forget it. Pretend I didn't ask. Then, Xiao Hua pondered for a moment. He pinched his chin and bargained with a smile that wasn't a smile. If you tell this Xiao the secret to activating the true qi of a Confucian cultivator in the folded jade legacy realm, this Xiao can consider it. Ao Fengping didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at Xiao Hua and said, Daoist master, what do you want that Confucian cultivator's secret technique for? That thing can only be activated by Confucian cultivators with dragon qi. You're a Taoist cultivator. That secret technique is useless to you. This Xiao also understands Confucian cultivators. Xiao Hua said with a smile. If you tell this secret technique to this Xiao will have another magical ability to help you. Isn't this what you need? Ah! Ao Fengping was surprised but also overjoyed. He hurriedly took out a jade eye and respectfully handed it to Xiao Hua. Daoist master is really amazing. You're actually a Confucian cultivator. My previous words were rude. Don't worry. Xiao Hua took the jade eye and placed it on his forehead. He looked at it while waving his hand. Ao Fengping smiled. He was puzzled again. Since Daoist master is a Confucian cultivator, even if you have some outstanding Taoist cultivation, the Immortal Palace won't force you like this, right? Now that Daoist master and the Immortal Palace are in a terrible situation, I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with them in the future. Alas, this matter is hard to explain in a few words. Let's not talk about it. Xiao Hua sighed. He looked around and said, since we're going, we'll leave now. You lead the way. This Xiao will study this jade eye for a while. Daoist master doesn't need to be anxious. Ao Fengping said with a smile. There are some other secret techniques in this jade eye. Daoist master should take a look. Okay. Xiao Hua said. He gave the jade eye to Xiao Hua and asked again, right, the scenery in the folded jade legacy realm has completely changed. How can you find the location of Deeper Lake? Ao Fengping's figure flew up. It was actually a Confucian cultivator's flying technique. He smiled mysteriously. This is of course a little secret of us dragon race descendants. Although the strength of the human race can't be compared to the dragon race can't compare with their brains. Xiao Hua smiled. He thought to himself, Ao Sheng is a small clan elder of this dragon island. Even he can't be sure that he can find Deeper Lake. Ao Fengping, a human outside of this dragon island, can do it. Just thinking about it makes me feel strange. What kind of secret is there in Deeper Lake that can't be hidden by experts? Along the way, Ao Fengping kept changing directions. Sometimes he even had to turn back. However, Ao Fengping never had the slightest hesitation. It was as if he knew exactly where he was going. Unknowingly, more than 10 days had passed. Although they met some dragon race members during this period of time, they were all around the 5th or 6th grade of elemental energy. Their true strength couldn't be counted as anything. They were completely relying on the draconic qi of the stacking jade legacy realm to bully others. Facing Xiao Hua, they were miserable. Xiao Hua didn't release Dragon Vein Xiao Hua. He only let Dragon Vein Xiao Hua control the draconic qi within 10 miles. He himself used both his hands and feet to become a dragon subduing Ahut. He took all the Dragon Vein Xiao Hua into his space. Ao Fengping was dumbstruck. He had seen fierce people, powerful people, but when had he ever seen a Daoist cultivator who treated the dragon race like a loach? Wasn't this a little too fierce? That reverence in his heart was like a torrential river that flowed endlessly, so much so that in the end, that reverence in his heart turned into fear and unease. He even suggested in a low voice, Daoist master, occasionally killing a dragon race member doesn't count as anything, but Daoist master took in so many dragon race members. Aren't you afraid that the dragon island will get angry? After all, the dragon race is originally very few, and the dragon race itself reproduces extremely slowly. Every dragon, especially the pure-blooded dragon race, they are all recorded in the Dragon Book of the Dragon Island. The dragon race members who entered the stacking jade legacy realm this time all have great origins. You doing this? If you don't say it, and I don't say it, who would know? Xiao Hua looked at Ao Fengping with a double meaning and replied with a grin. Alas, I was wrong. At this moment, Ao Fengping was already regretting. He clearly knew that Xiao Hua was hiding in the cave to meditate, but it definitely wasn't hiding as Xiao Hua had said. As for what Xiao Hua's purpose was, Ao Fengping was afraid that even if he cracked his head, he still wouldn't be able to figure it out. Since you're regretting it, then you and I can part ways here. Xiao Hua smiled as he took out the jade eye and returned it to Ao Fengping, saying, however, fellow Daoist Ao won't be able to take back those secret techniques. Alas, it's too late. Ao Fengping raised his eyes to look at the distant mountain peak that seemed to be covered by a thick fog and said, we've already arrived at the edge of the deeper Yuan. Huh? Is that so? Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat as he looked into the distance. He was somewhat bewildered. Since he had already arrived at the edge of the deeper Yuan, then what about Ao Sheng? Where did that Ao Sheng who claimed to be able to find him at any time run off to? Could it be that Ao Sheng didn't come to the deeper Yuan at all? Just as they were talking, Ao Fengping stopped in midair and said in a low voice, Daoist Xiao, please wait a moment. Immediately, Ao Fengping took out a fist-sized object from his bosom. This object looked like a walnut, it was black and had many wrinkles on it. Ao Fengping placed the object in his mouth and circulated his true qi. He used all his strength to blow into a groove on the object. Xiao Hua's ears didn't hear anything, but he could sense that there was a strange fluctuation coming from it. After Ao Fengping finished blowing, he put away that object and quietly waited in midair. His two ears slightly flapped, and after a long while, his ears trembled as if he had heard something. Then, he softly said to Xiao Hua, Daoist Xiao, there's been some unforeseen events. Right now, we can't directly go to the deeper Yuan. Daoist Xiao, please follow me. Xiao Hua disagreed and nodded, I'll listen to Daoist Xiao's arrangement. Alright. Ao Fengping didn't dare to be negligent. He descended and brought Xiao Hua to a nearby valley. Xiao Hua followed Ao Fengping and didn't release his true qi. At this time, he turned around a large stone in the valley, and his eyes lit up again. This was a bright and spacious place. The surroundings looked tall, but compared to other places, they were somewhat short fruit trees. Some lantern-like fruits hung on the fruit trees' branches. These fruits looked unripe and didn't have any special fragrance. Within these fruit trees, there were some collapsed fences and broken walls. When Xiao Hua and Ao Fengping appeared, 3 human cultivators in the fruit trees raised their heads and looked at the two rather vigilantly. This is Daoist Xiao Hua, Daoist Xiao. Ao Fengping hurriedly introduced, I presume that the 3 of you have already met in the Dragon Qi realm. When I just arrived here, I was attacked by the Dragon Clan of the West Sea, and then I encountered the changes in the Forgotten Realm. After that, I met Daoist Xiao. When I was recuperating, Daoist Xiao stood guard for me. Thinking that we needed manpower and that Daoist Xiao possessed remarkable abilities, I boldly invited Daoist Xiao to come with me. Ao Fengping, you are too bold. A human cultivator coldly said, what authority do you have to bring a stranger here? -13. Chapter 4023. That's right. What did we discuss before? The other human cultivator's face was also unkind as he asked. Ao Fengping's face was somewhat embarrassed as he said, I naturally know about the previous agreement, but, without Daoist Xiao, I wouldn't have been able to come here. Moreover, Daoist Xiao is a human cultivator. You all have seen his bloodline Dharma body. He is also a descendant of the Dragon Clan, so he is also qualified to participate. Shut up. The first human cultivator berated, don't quibble about anything. You are blatantly arbitrary. Haha, you two don't need to say anything more. The other human cultivator laughed, since Daoist Xiao has come here, he must also know about the matter of deeper Yuan. What's the use of saying so much? Since we need manpower, Daoist Xiao's arrival will be a great help. Immediately, the human cultivator turned his head and said, I am Qingju's Ao Zhenhong. Greetings, Daoist Xiao. Greetings, fellow Daoist Ao. Xiao Hua smiled as he cupped his hands towards Ao Zhenhong and said, Since these two fellow Taoists don't welcome this Xiao, and this Xiao also brought fellow Daoist Ao Fengping here as an explanation to Ao Fengping, this Xiao won't stay here any longer. This is goodbye. No. Before Ao Zhenhong could speak, the two human cultivators from before shouted at the same time, "Since you are here, how can you come and go as you please?" Ao Fengping was shocked. He was clear about Xiao Hua's strength. He was afraid of causing trouble, so he hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoists, don't be anxious. Daoist Xiao, please calm down. This old man will leave if he wants to leave, and stay if he wants to stay." Xiao Hua smiled coldly and said indifferently, "This old man wants to see who dares to keep this Xiao. You dare to leave." The two human cultivators flew up and blocked Xiao Hua's path. Just as they were about to draw their swords, another wave of strange fluctuations came from another direction. Ao Zhenhong saw it and immediately advised, "Ao Yunqing, Ao Yuzhong, don't be anxious. There are only 4 people here. Ao Fengping and I agree that Daoist Xiao should leave, but we can't make a decision now. How about we listen to fellow Daoist's opinion?" Ao Zhenhong hurriedly took out something similar to Ao Fengping, and said something while blowing it. "Why would Xiao Hua care about this?" He said indifferently, "How can the likes of you decide where I come and go?" As he spoke, Xiao Hua's figure floated up, and he didn't even look at Ao Yunqing and Ao Yuzhong before flying out of the gorge. Daoist Master Xiao. Ao Zhenhong saw that Xiao Hua wasn't giving him any face, and his complexion slightly changed. Ao Fengping, who was at the side, also knew Xiao Hua's temperament these days. He knew that Xiao Hua was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. He hastily pulled on Ao Zhenhong's scholarly robe, hinting Ao Zhenhong to stop talking. "Mph." Ao Yunqing and Ao Yuzhong coldly snorted at the same time, and raised their hands at the same time. 2 barricade-like confinement forces were born, and like shackles, they closed in on Xiao Hua's flying figure. With one look, it was clear that the two of them had practiced joint attack techniques. Xiao Hua coldly smiled, and his figure suddenly moved strangely. He raised his right fist, and with a boom, his fist hit Ao Yunqing's strength. With a crisp sound, that awe-inspiring qi was instantly collapsed by Xiao Hua's attack. Xiao Hua's fist didn't stop, and it passed through space. With a pa sound, it hit Ao Yunqing's body. The true qi around Ao Yunqing's body surged, and his figure flew back uncontrollably, shua. Xiao Hua didn't chase after Ao Yunqing. Instead, he raised his left hand, and casually chopped down. The true qi sword in his left hand suddenly split Ao Yuzhong's strength into 2 halves. Even Ao Yuzhong's scholarly robe, which was not far away, had a sword mark. Ah! Ao Yuzhong and Ao Yunqing both turned pale with fright. "Mph, your scholarly cultivation technique is not bad. If you were outside the overlapping Jadeite legacy realm, you would still have the strength to fight with this old man." Xiao Hua coldly snorted, and his figure didn't stop. He indifferently flew over and said, "But under this dragon qi, you're using scholarly cultivation techniques again. In this old man's eyes, it's just a child's play." Hearing Xiao Hua's words, the two of them were ashamed and angry. They looked at each other, and at the same time raised their hands to slap their foreheads. "Om!" A clear sound rang out, and 2 dragon qi emitted from their bodies. Soon after, 2 dark dragon blood dharma bodies rushed out with bared fangs and brandished claws. Damn it! Ao Fengping didn't dare to wait any longer. Thinking that Xiao Hua had even captured a real dragon, how could Ao Yuzhong and Ao Yunqing's dragon blood dharma bodies be his opponent? They couldn't even be counted as an appetizer. "Huh! Daoist Master Xiao? Why are you here?" Seeing that the situation was already bad, when Ao Fengping didn't know what to do, a clear voice sounded from afar. Wasn't it Ao Moyun whom Xiao Hua was familiar with? Xiao Hua's figure stopped in the air. Looking at Ao Yuzhong and Ao Yunqing's ink-colored dragon blood dharma bodies, and then thinking about Ao Moyun's pitch-black dragon body in the dragon qi realm, he seemed to have understood something. "Hehe, Mr. Moyun, we meet again." Xiao Hua ignored the 2 dragon descendants who thought themselves infallible. He cupped his hands towards Ao Moyun, and said meaningfully, It seems that Mr. Moryun came to the overlapping Jadeite legacy realm prepared long ago. Ao Moryun also didn't have any special secrets. He said with a smile, "What the spiritual master said is right. I came to the Dragon Island to gain experience because of this deeper UN." Saying that, Ao Moryun turned his head and berated Ao Yuzhong and Ao Yunqing. "Why aren't you too quickly withdrawing your Dharma bodies? These methods are useless in front of the spiritual master. Moreover, the spiritual master is a merciful and compassionate person. He definitely won't spoil our plans." The two seemed to listen to Ao Moryun's words. They withdrew their dragon blood Dharma bodies, flew to the side, and stood there seemingly unconvinced. "Spiritual Master Xiao, don't lower yourself to their level," Ao Moryun said with a smile. "Presumably, the spiritual master has already seen it on the traveling Dragon Island. Because of this matter, too many dragon descendants have been lost. We have to be careful. This matter has nothing to do with this Xiao." Xiao Hua waved his hand. "This Xiao just happened to meet Ao Fengping and sent him here. This Xiao will pretend that he didn't see anything. Goodbye." He, spiritual master, don't worry," Ao Moryun hurriedly said again. "I was saved by the spiritual master on the traveling Dragon Island earlier, but I never had the opportunity to repay you. Now that I see the spiritual master again, it's the heavens who gave me to the spiritual master. It's also an opportunity for me to repay the spiritual master." "What do you mean?" Xiao Hua's heart moved, and he asked. Ao Moryun looked around, raised his hand, and said, "Spiritual master, please come with me. I'll break it down for you." "Good." Xiao Hua was still at ease with Ao Moryun. He nodded and followed Ao Moryun to the broken wall between the fruit trees. "Spiritual Master Xiao." Ao Moryun pointed at the fruit trees and said with a smile, "Does the spiritual master know what these fruit trees are?" "How would I know?" Xiao Hua glanced at the fruit and replied. "Spiritual master can pick a few fruits to try." "Oh, is there anything strange about it?" Xiao Hua was slightly taken aback. He raised his hand, and sure enough, the fruits on the fruit trees didn't move at all, as if they were cast in iron. Xiao Hua was about to use more strength when Ao Moryun hurriedly stopped him. "I know that the spiritual master is strong. Spiritual master shouldn't use too much strength. This is the dragon heart fruit of the dragon domain. It's precious. However, the dragon heart fruit can't be picked from the fruit tree before it ripens. Otherwise, it will turn into water vapor and disappear." "That's strange." Xiao Hua withdrew his hand and said puzzledly, "The stacked jade Forgotten Realm has been closed for so many years, and the time inside is different from the Dragon Island. This dragon heart fruit should have ripened, right? Why is it still like this?" "I don't know." Ao Moryun shook her head. "It seems that the ripening of the dragon heart fruit requires other opportunities, right? What's the use of the dragon heart fruit?" Xiao Hua asked again. Ao Moryun shook her head and said, "I don't know the specific use, but it is said that the profound armor pentagonal holy dragon obtained a ripe dragon heart fruit in the stacked jade Forgotten Realm, tch. Xiao Hua didn't believe it and shook his head. "The dragon race only has one great sage of the demon race, and there are many rumors about him. Who knows which is true and which is false?" At this point, Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and asked again, "Since the dragon heart fruit can't leave the fruit trees, can the fruit trees leave the land of the stacked jade Forgotten Realm?" "I don't know either." Ao Moryun smiled even more bitterly, not knowing why Xiao Hua asked this. "Haha. Then let me see whether it is true or not." As Xiao Hua spoke, he flew in front of a dragon heart fruit tree, and a bronze brilliance appeared around his body, turning into a transcendence golden body that was several hundred feet in size. Then, he raised his hand and grabbed a fruit tree. Up. Following Xiao Hua's light command, a dragon heart fruit tree was easily pulled out by him. "Daoist Xiao, what are you doing?" Ao Moryun was shocked. Xiao Hua ignored her and moved one after another. In a short moment, he had pulled out more than half of the fruit trees, making Ao Yuzhong and the others dumbfounded. "Daoist Xiao, stop." Ao Moryun hurriedly stopped him. "This dragon heart fruit is an extremely important part of the stacked jade Forgotten Realm. If you continue to pull it out, I'm afraid this place will no longer exist. After the Dragon Island knows, they will definitely investigate. Hee. Xiao Hua withdrew his transcendent's golden body and landed. He clapped his hands and said with a smile, "It seems that this fruit tree can still survive after leaving the land of the stacked jade forgotten realm." Daoist Xiao. Ao Moyun didn't understand Xiao Hua's actions. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry and said, "Daoist Xiao, why do you have to do this? I just want to use this dragon heart fruit to explain to you that there are countless ancient treasures in the stacked jade forgotten realm, and that there is an ancient golden core in the deeper abyss that can be used by Dao sect cultivator." Ancient golden core? Xiao Hua was shocked and asked, "How can there be a golden core used by Dao sect cultivators in the Longyu fragment? Besides, even if there is one here, how do you know?" Ao Moyun chuckled and said, "Daoist Xiao doesn't need to ask how I know. When I heard this news that day, the first person I thought of was Daoist Xiao. With Daoist Xiao's current cultivation, it is suitable for him to take this golden core. This golden core is simply prepared for Daoist Xiao. That day, this was just a piece of news, I can't guarantee it." -13. Chapter 4024. Mr. Moyun, why don't you tell me why there are golden cores used by Dao sect cultivators here? Xiao Hua asked with interest. Ao Moyun asked straightforwardly, "I wonder if Daoist Xiao has heard of the heavenly dragon language technique? I didn't know before, I only found out after coming to Dragon Island. Then does Daoist Xiao feel that this heavenly dragon language technique has anything to do with Dao sect techniques?" Ao Moyun's words hit Xiao Hua's heart. Xiao Hua's heart jumped for no reason. "I have some thoughts, but I don't have any answers." Fellow Daoist Ao Zhantian also has the same doubts in his heart. Ao Moyun explained, however, according to his thoughts, the Dragon Clan is a demon clan, but they are separated from the demon clan and have a separate Dragon Island. Moreover, the Dragon Clan is closer to the human clan. It is very likely that it is related to this heavenly dragon language technique. Although the human clan's Dao sect has declined in the hidden immortal continent, it was extremely powerful in ancient times. At that time, the Dragon Clan and the human clan might have been one family. This heavenly dragon language technique might be a Dao sect technique itself. In that case, if Dao sect cultivators can refine pills, why can't the Dragon Clan do so? Even if the Dragon Clan can't refine pills, what's so strange about Dao sect cultivators refining pills for the Dragon Clan? An ancient golden core appearing in this Dragon Realm fragment. That's even less strange, right? Ao Moyun had obviously thought about it a long time ago. One sentence after another moved Xiao Hua's heart. Yes, since the Dragon Clan can use the heavenly dragon language technique, why can't they take golden cores? The origin of the golden core appearing in this Dragon Realm fragment must be extraordinary. The Dragon Realm is comparable to the immortal world. How can this golden core be an ancient golden core? Xiao Hua thought to himself. Actually, now that I think about it, this golden core might not be used by the Dragon Clan. Ao Moyun struck while the iron was hot again. Maybe it's a useless pill refined by the Dragon Clan, and it was left here because it was useless. That's why the Dragon Clan hasn't taken it away for so many years. Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment. Finally, he sighed and said, "Mr. Moyun, it's not that I'm not greedy for this ancient golden core. The problem is that after entering the deeper abyss, I will be in a difficult position. When we entered the stacked jade legacy realm, I'm sure Mr. Moyun had already seen who I was with." "Ah!" Ao Moyun was startled and hurriedly said, "Reverend, are you saying that Ao Sheng, Ao Sheng has a good relationship with me? He has Dragon Island behind him. Mr. Mo Yuan has a good relationship with me too. You have the human race behind you." Xiao Hua explains, "Moreover, this Xiao really doesn't want to participate in the grudges between your Gui tribe and Dragon Island. Therefore, even if that gold core is very tempting, this Xiao also doesn't want to obtain it. Goodbye." Hiss. Hearing that Xiao Hua knew so much, Ao Moyun was dumbfounded. He sucked in a mouthful of cold air and blankly looked at Xiao Hua cupping his hands and flying away. "Mr. Moyun." Ao Yuzhong hastily flew over and anxiously said, "How can you let Xiao Hua go? If he reveals our whereabouts, what should we do? There's no need to be afraid of being exposed." Ao Moyun shook his head and said, "Our whereabouts have already been exposed. Or rather, the Dragon Island already knows the location of the deeper abyss. Quick, inform the leader, we have to enter the deeper abyss as soon as possible. Buzz buzz." At this time, at the location of the deeper abyss in the distance, the entire space was shaking. The fog that originally covered the mountain range quickly filled the entire heaven and earth along with the shaking, and the blurry mountain range became clear. It didn't seem to be any different from the mountain range they had encountered before. "Quick!" Seeing this, Ao Moyun hastily urged, "We are already too late. The leader has already made his move in the deeper abyss. Let's go quickly." All right. Whether it was Ao Yuzhong or Ao Fengping, they didn't have time to care about Xiao Hua's departure at this time. They hastily urged their figures and rushed in the direction of the deeper abyss. Xiao Hua had only flown a few thousand feet away. Naturally, he also sensed the change. That cloud of fog rolled up and formed a cloud pattern that rushed past him and spread far away. Xiao Hua somewhat reluctantly turned his head to look and sighed, "Alas, ancient gold core, I also want it. Unfortunately, one side is Ao Shang and Dragon Island, and the other side is Ao Moyun's Gui tribe. I don't want to help anyone. Moreover, in this Xiao's opinion, the possibility of Gui tribe's defeat is extremely high. The elders of the Dragon Palace Hall are not fools. Since they dared to let you enter the stacked Jade Legacy realm, they must have some means. Anyway, this Xiao has already reminded Ao Moyun. If they insist on going their own way, then there is no other way. However, just now, I seem to have heard Ao Moyun mention some leader. This human is really mysterious. I don't know who he is. Hehe, but what does this have to do with this Xiao? This Xiao has obtained the Dragon Heart Fruit. There are still many dragon crystals outside to pick up. When Ao Shang comes out from the deeper abyss, there is no need to wait for him. This Xiao will go find the dragon cleansing pool and help little white dragon form its body. After that, we will wait for the stacked Jade Legacy realm to close. Xiao Hua's little abacus was extremely good. Unfortunately, after flying for several hundred miles, an invisible barrier suddenly appeared in front of him. It was the end of the layer of fog. This barrier was very strange. Xiao Hua flew to this place and actually couldn't pass through. Xiao Hua tried to use the Transcendent's golden body, the Confucian cultivator's flying sword, and the delusion breaker Dharma eye, but it was all to no avail. Damn it! Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Could it be that this Xiao needs to activate the Devil Blade? Xiao Hua naturally wouldn't activate the Devil Blade for the sake of escaping. He tried a few more methods and simply gave up. Turning his head to look in the direction of the deeper abyss, he said with a bitter smile, "Looks like this deeper abyss needs to be visited. However, this Xiao will definitely not make a move. They can fight however they want. This Xiao will take advantage of the chaos to look for that ancient golden core." Thus, the greedy Xiao Hua finally turned back. When Xiao Hua flew to the left side of the deeper abyss, he activated the dragon race's invisibility technique and quietly approached. When Xiao Hua flew closer, he could see clearly. That deeper abyss was a huge ring-shaped mountain range. At a glance, he couldn't see the end of it. Perhaps it was thousands of miles in size. This ring-shaped mountain range was light black in color. The heavy rocks that stretched thousands of miles also reflected the black color. It looked very strange. What was strange was not only the mountain range, but also the ring-shaped space in the middle of the mountain range. The naked eye couldn't penetrate it. It could only be seen that there was a layer of similarly black dragon patterns in the space. The black dragon patterns were like grass in the grassland. Each dragon pattern was like a tiny dragon, and each dragon pattern was emitting a kind of condescending dragon might. When Xiao Hua's gaze fell on it, he couldn't help but feel small in his heart. Looking at the black dragon patterns, he saw that there were already two groups facing each other. The ones closest to Xiao Hua were Ao Moyun and a dozen other humans and monsters. They gathered together, and in front of them were another dozen or so huge dragons. Opposite them were completely made up of dragons, and the one in front was Ao Sheng. Xiao Hua's gaze fell on Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng very strangely tilted his neck and twisted his dragon head towards Xiao Hua. Damn it, Xiao Hua secretly cursed in his heart. This little bastard must have sensed that I came to the deeper abyss. That's why he didn't go back to look for me. I hid here and there, but I still couldn't hide. These dragons behind him should be the helpers he found using the dragon race's secret technique after he found the deeper abyss. Hey! Why is Ao Zhan also here? He's injured. Seems like he's in trouble. Behind Ao Sheng, there were 20 or so dragons. Their strength was about the same, and some of them were even injured. Ao Zhan, whom Xiao Hua was familiar with, appeared in front of him. Ao Dao. Ao Sheng's voice came. Although you're from the Hui race, you've been adopted by the Western Sea Dragon Palace since you were young. The Western Sea Dragon Palace has always regarded you as a descendant, and my dragon race has never treated you differently. All the training and gifts have always been given to you every year. Why do you know that the deeper abyss has something that the dragon race has always been looking for, but why don't you say anything? Moreover, at this time, you still want to go against my dragon race and ruin my dragon race's big matter? This kind of ungrateful thing, do you think you can do it? Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng coldly said to the black dragon opposite him, you're just a small elder of the dragon race, of course you don't know the situation of the Hui race. Do you really think that the Western Sea Dragon Palace really treats me as a descendant? Isn't it because you want to find the secret of my Hui race from me? Furthermore, you dared to let the Hui race and their descendants come to the Stacking Jade Legacy realm to train, isn't it all to find this secret? Now that I've lured you here, isn't it helping your dragon race? Don't say that your dragon race belongs to my dragon race. Ao Sheng said impatiently, you and I are both from the dragon race. The dragon race belongs to both of us. If you don't even have the dragon race in your heart, then you're not afraid of being a dragon. It's not that we don't regard ourselves as a dragon race, it's that the dragon race doesn't regard us as a dragon race. If the dragon race is regarded as one of the 10 races of the dragon race, then why did you exterminate my Hui race back then? Isn't it because your dragon race, Pang Bai, Luo Luo Shrine, and the other 9 Hui races were jealous of my Hui race's elites, and were afraid that my Hui race would control the dragon race, so you worked together to exterminate my Hui race? Back then, you already didn't regard my Hui race as a dragon race, so why do you still have to say it today? Che. Ao Sheng was really disdainful. He coldly waved his hand and said, kill them all. Break the restriction first and get the thing first. Yes. Ao Zhan and the others behind Ao Sheng responded, and urged their dragon bodies to pounce forward. Ao Dao naturally didn't show any weakness. He raised his head and roared, sons of the Hui race, today is a great opportunity for my Hui race to rise up, as long as we kill these bastards of the dragon race and retrieve the relic of the Hui race left behind by my clan's elder, my Hui race will be able to stand tall in the 4 seas, and even build another dragon island that belongs to my Hui race in the 4 seas. For the sake of my Hui race's sacrifice, for the sake of the dragon race's hope, for the sake of my clan's elder, kill. As soon as Ao Dao's words left his mouth, the descendants of the Hui race, be it the dragon race, the human race, or the monster race, were all envious. They all urged their divine abilities and pounced towards the dragon race of the dragon race on the dragon island. Roar! The battle between the giant dragons was very spectacular. Wherever the dragon claws passed, dragon blood splattered, and dragon scales fluttered in all directions. The roars shook the surroundings, and countless dragon chi and clouds madly surged within the radius of 1,000 miles. -13. Chapter 40-25. Although Ao Sheng was a minor elder of the Dragon Island, his strength was limited, and his opponent was not Ao Dao. The one fighting Ao Dao was another giant dragon whose strength was also at the upper stage of the 6th stage. In less than 5 minutes, both Ao Dao and that giant dragon were covered in blood, flesh and blood flying everywhere. The large drops of dragon blood and large pieces of dragon meat fell on the black dragon patterns under the dragons. These dragon patterns began to flash and gather toward the center after receiving the dragon blood. Damn it! Seeing this, how could Xiao Hua not understand that the restrictive spell of the deeper Yuan was also strange? He sighed secretly in his heart. This Ao Dao is the leader that Ao Moryun mentioned, right? He is also sinister enough. The restrictive spell of the deeper Yuan should also be set up by Ao Qin. It seems that a blood sacrifice is needed to break the restrictive spell, and this blood sacrifice must be the dragon blood of the 9 clans of the Dragon Island. The 9th elder of the Dragon Palace let the descendants of the Hu in so that they could follow them to find the deeper Yuan. Ao Dao used the dragons of the Dragon Island to follow them and kill them for dragon blood. Presumably, before Ao Dao came to the deeper Yuan, he had already killed a lot of dragons, and what triggered the restrictive spell of the deeper Yuan was the blood essence of the dragons that he had hunted before. Alas, the cunning of these dragons is no less than that of the human race. Oh, these tricks to lure the enemy are probably done by the descendants of the human race, such as Ao Moryun. Thinking of Ao Moryun, Xiao Hua looked in another direction. Over there, a dozen or so humans and demons were together with several giant dragons. The strength of these humans and demons was greatly reduced in the folded jade ruins. Although they could use dragon energy with the help of the dragon bloodline Dharmakaya, they were still a little weaker than the real dragons of the Dragon Island. In less than 5 minutes, 2 demons had already been killed by the dragons. As for Ao Moryun, he was now struggling bitterly. Seeing Ao Moryun try his best to resist the attacks of the dragons with his strong faith, Xiao Hua felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. First, he watched the revenge of the dragons of the Heavenly Abode River, then the revenge of the Hu. He was really tired of living because of hatred. How could he live because of love, be free and happy? However, looking at the battle in front of him and thinking about the hatred he had to bear, Xiao Hua sighed again. Even now, he still didn't understand why the 2 nascent soul masters from the Dawn Rain continent were chasing after him. Was there someone else behind these 2 nascent soul masters? If he was facing the people behind them, how could he not make a move? There was also Shang Huaming. Once he returned to Dawn Rain continent, how could he not attack Shang Huaming sect, 7 Possibilities sect, and Xuanyan school? Roar! Several dragon roars resounded. Dragon chi surged around the bodies of many huge dragons. One by one, they spat out dragon pearls. Different kinds of fluctuations and brilliance appeared on the dragon horns. The killing intent of the entire battlefield immediately became more austere. Ah! A huge dragon's chest was dug open by its opponent. It screamed miserably and fell into the restriction. If it was somewhere else, this huge dragon might still be able to struggle and rely on the strength of its dragon body to heal. However, as soon as he touched the restriction, the dense dragon patterns immediately swept across his dragon body. The dragon patterns were like sharp dragon sabers. In a few breaths of time, his flesh and blood were sliced off. Damn it! Ao Dao roared. He opened his mouth and a huge tornado rushed out. It instantly hit his opponent's face, and the dragon claws followed closely behind. Swish! A cold light flashed. The dragon general in front of him actually turned into an illusion. Not good. Ao Dao felt that something was wrong. Just as he was about to twist his dragon body, he heard a cold laugh behind him. Ao Dao, since you've already lured us here, your mission is complete. Go to hell. Woo! As the wind and clouds surged, a dragon tail appeared out of thin air. The dragon scales on the tail were as sharp as flying swords. It suddenly slashed Ao Dao's back. Although Ao Dao tried his best to dodge, under the dragon tail, 30% of his flesh and blood was still torn off and fell on the restriction. Ah! Ao Dao was in so much pain that he could only roll in the air. His opponent didn't give him a chance to escape at all. After the dragon body appeared, the dragon claws grabbed at Ao Dao's heart. Leader! The few dragons closest to Ao Dao, as well as Ao Moryun, who was not far away, were all shocked. They urged their bodies to come to his rescue. Unfortunately, they were still far away. Ao Dao was about to die under the opponent's sharp claws. Roar! At this moment, There was another roar. A jet-black dragon aura suddenly appeared behind Ao Sheng. A voice that Xiao Hua was very familiar with shouted, "Whoever dares to touch the scales of the descendant of my Hui clan, I'll kill the little elder of your dragon island." Xiao Hua, who was watching from the side, was stunned. He looked at the familiar Ao Zhan in disbelief. Suddenly, his whole body was dyed black. Even the sharp claws that grabbed Ao Sheng's dragon body had turned black. How is this possible? Xiao Hua was a little confused. Wasn't Ao Zhan injured by Jiang Che of the Heavenly Abode River in the Relic World? How could he be the descendant of the Hui clan? Not to mention me, even the Dragon King of the East Sea Dragon Palace. I'm afraid he wouldn't have thought of this, right? Ao Zhan's strength was very strong. Now that he had obtained the bloodline of the Dragon Clan, his strength improved by leaps and bounds. How could Ao Sheng be his opponent? Ao Zhan suddenly appeared and captured Ao Sheng. Those two sharp claws pierced deeply into Ao Sheng's dragon scales. With Ao Zhan's change, the situation of the entire battlefield changed. The two Hui clan dragons that were fighting against Ao Zhan and Ao Sheng immediately pounced on the other two dragons. The dragons of the Dragon Island were even more afraid because Ao Sheng was captured. They were dragons that could have killed Ao Dao. With a slight hesitation, Ao Dao's dragon body rolled and escaped. You're the leader of the Hui clan? Ao Sheng grimaced in pain, but he couldn't help but ask. That's right, Ao Zhan said coldly. I was going to come to deeper Yuan. Since you're leading the way, I don't have to bother. Roar! Ao Sheng roared. His body suddenly rolled. Large pieces of flesh and blood were cut off from his body. Ao Zhan was caught off guard and Ao Sheng actually broke free. Once Ao Sheng was free, his figure immediately flew towards Xiao Hua. He even shouted, "Spiritual Master Xiao, save me, damn it." Xiao Hua cursed inwardly. He had no choice but to reveal his figure. However, before Ao Sheng's dragon body could fly over, Ao Moyun, who had just returned to save Ao Dao, suddenly raised her head. At this time, she was the closest to Xiao Hua. Her body was suddenly surrounded by a pitch-black dragon blood Dharma body. As soon as this Dharma body appeared, pitch-black flames immediately appeared in the space. As the flames burned, Ao Moyun's body teleported in front of Xiao Hua. Ao Moyun looked at Xiao Hua and said word by word, "Spiritual Master, you saved my life. I shouldn't have done this to you. However, I have made the revival of my Hui clan my own life. Now that it's about to be realized, I have no choice but to stop you. I have no face to see you in the future. Please forgive me." Boom. Just as Ao Moyun's voice fell, her physical body and dragon blood celestial body both exploded. Pitch-black flames mixed with black blood splashed onto Xiao Hua's body, and similarly landed on the restriction. Previously, the restriction had already transformed into a vague dragon shape after receiving Ao Sheng's flesh and blood. At this moment, when Ao Moyun's blood essence landed, the dragon shape suddenly became clear. When Xiao Hua saw Ao Moyun blocking him, he thought she was going to use some method, but he didn't expect Ao Moyun to be so resolute. Without saying anything, she had already self-destructed. Caught off guard, the black flames and black blood fell on him. The black blood and black flames instantly soaked into the surface of his body. Ouch! Xiao Hua's face changed greatly. His body was on the verge of collapse in midair. He said in shock and anger, This is the poison of the Dragon Clan? Haha! Spiritual Master Xiao. Ao Zhan shouted in the distance. This is the black poison that my Hui clan specially used to deal with the Dragon Island. Don't be afraid. At this time, you just can't use your dragon chi. When I kill Ao Sheng and the other dragons, I will give you the antidote. Damn it. Xiao Hua cursed loudly. I just came to watch the show. You even want to poison me to death. Ao Moyun, even if you don't want to live, you don't have to drag me down. You are really called Mr. Moyun in vain. Kill. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to finish speaking, Ao Zhan's pitch-black dragon body gave birth to an indescribable dragon might. His figure once again pounced on Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng looked at Xiao Hua rather meaningfully, then hurriedly shook his tail and fled to another dragon. "What are you looking at?" Xiao Hua looked fiercely at Ao Sheng's back and cursed inwardly. "In order to prevent me from making a move, a human has already died. How am I supposed to make a move? I am a human after all. Damn it, this is Ao Moyun's real intention." Although Xiao Hua was cursing, his mind had already been released. It wrapped around the space where Ao Moyun's flesh and blood exploded. The netherworld origin power spread out along with his mind and took Ao Moyun's soul into the yin side of the space. Of course, Xiao Hua also knew that the soul collected by the netherworld origin power was different from the soul collected by the parameter, so he didn't enter the yin side of the space to explore. The dragons of the Dragon Island naturally wouldn't let Ao Zhon capture Ao Sheng, but Ao Zhon was really powerful. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, he had already torn his enemy into pieces, and at this time, the situation of the entire battlefield was completely in favor of the Gui clan. After Ao Zhon tore his enemy into pieces, his whole dragon body coiled in midair and coldly looked around. His gaze swept past Xiao Hua, and a faint joy flashed through his eyes. It seemed that he was very satisfied with Xiao Hua's tacit understanding. And Xiao Hua looked at Ao Zhon's expression. That kind of arrogance, that kind of condescension, that kind of confidence, he felt rather uncomfortable in his heart. Only now did he understand the true meaning of some of the words Ao Zhon said in the relic realm that day. Ao Zhon was indeed not a simple dragon guard. The so-called Ao Chen was nothing but a trash in his eyes. His ambition was lofty and far beyond what dragons like Ao Chen could understand. However, after the experience of joining hands to fight the enemy in the relic realm, Xiao Hua still had a certain understanding of this dragon who was arrogant to the bone and had a heavy responsibility on his shoulders. He knew that he was still a man who could be trusted. Ao Sheng. Ao Zhon saw that the Gui clan had the situation under control, so he looked at Ao Sheng and said, "You don't have to hide anymore. You are a junior elder of the Dragon Island, and in the future, you will also be the leader of the Dragon Island. No matter what, I am still a member of the Dragon Island. I will definitely not take your life. It's just that the things in this deeper yuan were obtained by the Gui clan's elder at the risk of his life. I must take them away. If you know what's good for you, then order them to stop right now. Sprinkle your blood essence and I won't hurt you." 13. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,